Long Chen saw a distant mountain. His heart pounded. That was a huge, 3-mile-long earth dragon. This so-called earth dragon was actually just a large lizard. It had 2 horns on its head, making it appear sinister and terrifying. It also had a pair of wings, but it wasn't able to fly. It was covered in golden scales from top to bottom, and currently lying at the peak of a mountain. Seeing Long Chen and the others arrive, it let out a thunderous roar. That's clearly an 8th rank magical beast. Long Chen gulped. Little Snow let out a quiet growl. Long Chen was speechless. Even if I've advanced, I'm not a match for an 8th rank magical beast. Are you joking? Little Snow actually thought that he could handle an 8th rank magical beast now that he had advanced. Long Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Little Snow really had overestimated him. It wasn't as if he had advanced to see expansion. How could he dare to challenge an 8th rank magical beast? That was equivalent to a human foundation forging expert. Furthermore, seeing its immense territory, it was obvious that it was the ruler of this place. No other magical beasts dared to provoke it. Most importantly, anything in this world that was remotely related to a dragon wasn't something you should provoke. This earth dragon was a fire attribute magical beast, and the earth dragon Golden Blaze, first on the beast flame rankings, came from it. In the outside world, the earth dragons no longer possessed very pure bloodlines. And with such impure bloodlines, their limit was the 6th rank. But this one was a truly powerful existence that had reached the 8th rank. Brother Long, let's try it. Its flesh will definitely be, Wild's stomach grumbled. He gulped down his saliva, a hopeful light in his eyes. Although I feel like it's very foolish, I still want to try it. I really am becoming more and more stupid, sighed Long Chen. The earth dragon had something that he needed. That was its Niden. Just the beast flame seed extracted from a 6th rank earth dragon would be ranked first on the beast flame rankings. So it was obvious just how much energy had to be in this earth dragon's Niden. Within Long Chen's body, Hua Long was starting to become agitated. Even at this distance, it was able to sense the earth dragon's flame energy. It was urging Long Chen to summon his courage. Long Chen put away Little Snow immediately to avoid him being one-shot. He didn't have the slightest assurance in fighting against an 8th rank magical beast. But there was one thing that gave him confidence. If they really were unable to defeat it, he could always bring out the dragon scale. Any magical beast with comparatively greater intelligence would be affected by the dragon might, especially this kind of magical beast that was related to dragons. Wild, this fellow is extremely powerful. The chances of us winning are very low. The plan is for me to attack first, while you preserve your power. When the time comes, I'll send you a message. Then you'll immediately activate your barbarian blood bronze body and hit it with your strongest attack. Whether or not we can win is up to you, understood? Said Long Chen. Wild nervously nodded. Long Chen knew that if Wild even understood 50% of his meaning, it would be not bad. He just told him to not move and wait for him to create an opportunity. Once he was sure Wild understood and was just about to move out, the Eastern Wasteland bell suddenly rang out in Long Chen's head. Are you really going to attack it? Your chances of winning aren't high. In fact, you'll likely end up being killed. You're looking down on an 8th rank magical beast's power. I really can't understand you. You don't understand what Leng Yueyan is thinking, but now I find I also can't understand what you're thinking. If you're so unlucky all the time, why don't you be more well-behaved? Hee, with bad luck, the danger factor is much higher, so the chance of succeeding is lower. That is correct. But you don't know how I passed the last few years. Everything I have, I gained through risking my life. If I didn't dare to do something because of danger, I wouldn't have been able to obtain more opportunities, and I would have been surpassed by others. My experience over these years tells me that it is the people who fear death the most that have the earliest and most miserable deaths. Furthermore, my experience also tells me that the greater the danger, the greater the profit. I don't know if this theory of mine suits others, but I feel like it works for me, said Long Chen. This was his precious experience that he had gained through risking his life over and over. The Eastern Wasteland bell descended into silence. Everything about Long Chen was so strange, making it so he couldn't understand him. If Long Chen was truly its heir, then the world's karmic luck should have gathered all over him. But then how was he so unlucky? Long Chen had just moved when a roar rang out. This time, it wasn't just a warning. It also contained a trace of anger. The fact that Long Chen was encroaching upon its territory had angered the Earth Dragon. The Earth Dragon was a king amongst magical beasts, and as a flame attribute beast, it was easily angered. It had been many years since any magical beast had tried approaching it. The surrounding magical beasts were just its prey. Long Chen ignored its warning and continued forward. The Earth Dragon's territory was huge. It was several thousand miles, and on this land, there wasn't a single blade of grass growing. It was just barren rock. When Long Chen had traveled hundreds of miles into its territory, the Earth Dragon finally couldn't endure any longer. It didn't move, but it opened its mouth. Golden flames rushed toward Long Chen. Long Chen didn't even have a chance to react before they instantly devoured him. The golden flames melted the rocks around him. A burnt smell filled the twisting air. Damn, this is thousands of times stronger than the Earth Dragon golden blaze that Huo Wufang controlled, exclaimed Long Chen. Just this one spurt of breath is enough to kill any number of rank 2 celestials struck by it. If I could subdue it, then I would be able to roam around the immemorial path unchallenged. Regretfully, there's no way to subdue it with brute force, and even if I could capture it, there's no hope of successfully placing a slave mark on it with my current spiritual strength. The only chance there would be any hope of subduing it was if he used the dragon scale's might. But he definitely couldn't do that again. If he exhausted too much of the essence blood in the dragon scale, he wouldn't be able to cultivate the dragon blood body tempering art. If that happened, he wouldn't even have a place to cry. Furthermore, even if the Earth Dragon couldn't resist the dragon might, couldn't it run? He wouldn't be able to stop it, and then he would have lost everything. Long Chen was surrounded by blue flames. Those raging golden flames were unable to do anything to him. In fact, they were absorbed by the blue flames. His arm shook as Huo Long almost charged out of its own accord. Long Chen hastily suppressed it. Now wasn't the time to release it. Taking advantage of when it was breathing fire, Long Chen closed the distance. With the earth flame protecting him, he didn't fear any of this fire. When Long Chen was just a few dozen miles away, the Earth Dragon suddenly moved. It stood up and revealed its mountain-sized wings, rushing at Long Chen. Although it wasn't able to fly, its speed was incredible. A huge claw came whistling toward him. Split the heavens. With the broadsword, Split the Heavens was much stronger now. Long Chen's sword chi slashed onto its claw. Long Chen felt like his sword chi had slashed into an immovable mountain. A huge backlash sent him flying. He tumbled back, only crawling up dozens of miles away. When he crawled up, he suddenly realized that his attack hadn't even managed to slow the Earth Dragon down. It was still charging at him. One of its huge wings smashed down on him. That wing had bone thorns growing on it that whistled through the air. Long Chen's scalp turned numb. It was no wonder the Eastern Wasteland Belle had said he was courting death. An 8th-rank magical beast's power wasn't something he could imagine. Divine Ring. 4-star battle armor. With a furious roar, Long Chen explosively released all his power. A huge ray of sword chi soared into the sky. Split the heavens too. Boom. Long Chen's arms both broke. He vomited blood as he once more flew back. On the way, a mountain he crashed into crumbled to bits. Fuck, how is it so powerful? Although Long Chen had thought that he had already overestimated an 8th-rank magical beast's power before fighting, he realized he had actually still underestimated it. He had advanced to the 12th heaven stage of Xiantian, but he was still unable to receive even a single attack from the Earth Dragon with his strongest move. Suddenly, it flapped its wings, releasing a powerful gust that sent him flying. It opened its mouth, and a sea of raging flames spurted toward him. This was not the same breath as last time. Within this sea of flames were countless flame runes. The ground instantly melted. In front of this terrifying heat, the liquefied ground began to vaporize. This was Long Chen's first time seeing such a terrifying beast flame. Fortunately, the earth flame restricted the beast flame. No matter how the flames tried to attack him, Long absorbed them easily. Those flame runes were especially nourishing for it. Now it's troublesome. I can't get close to it, let alone lock it down. None of my strategies will work anymore. But while it's breathing fire, there should be an opportunity. Long Chen suddenly took out a giant pill with the same size as a baby's fist. It was pitch black and had 9 pill rings on it. It was the most difficult medicinal pill he had ever refined. In truth, this was a poison pill he had refined back when he had refined the sea-merging pill. It was something that contained all the poison of the hidden ground gold spider king. Back then, he had felt that it might be able to help in a crisis. Now he brought it out. Wrapping it with the earth flame's power, he sent it flying into the earth dragon's mouth. To be clear, the dragon here does not refer to a real dragon. It is the same as when Huolong and Lei Long fly out, they aren't true dragons. You should just treat that as a descriptor of shape. Because the earth dragon was currently breathing fire, it didn't realize that Long Chen's gift had already reached it. Its attack lasted for 3 breaths, and the entire world around them had been incinerated. Steam streamed out of the vaporized ground. Time to take your medicine. Just like a human, after breathing out, the earth dragon took a deep breath in. As a result, that black medicinal pill was directly swallowed. In comparison to the earth dragon's mouth, the giant pill was like a speck of dust. But as soon as the giant pill entered its throat, it transformed into black liquid that rapidly spread throughout its flesh. The earth dragon immediately sensed something was off. It opened its mouth, just about to spit out the black medicinal liquid. Split the heavens too. Just at this moment, Long Chen's full-strength attack viciously slashed onto its head. The earth dragon was struck with its defense down, and it smashed into the ground. After that attack, Long Chen was finally horrified. That was his full-strength attack, but it only managed to break a portion of its scales around the slash. It was unable to cause any fatal damage. In fact, it wasn't even able to cause a flesh wound. That kind of defense was too terrifying. However, he had achieved his goal with this attack. As long as the poison circulated throughout the earth dragon's body, he trusted that even if the poison couldn't kill it, it would greatly reduce its battle prowess. That was the hidden ground gold spider king's poison. It was extremely potent, to the point that the spider king's poison sac had had 3 layers of protection around it. Once its poison was released, even the spider king would be poisoned to death. Thus, it could be seen just how strong that poison was. After releasing this attack, Long Chen immediately flew into the air. He didn't need to do anything now. He just needed to wait for the poison to spread. The earth dragon shook its head repeatedly, roaring furiously. It was breathing fire, trying to expel the poison. Regretfully, its flame energy came from its naiden, not its stomach. It was unable to stop the poison from spreading. Seeing this scene, Long Chen was relieved. Like this, even though he had lost a trump card, he would at least not have to use the dragon scale. Even if he couldn't kill it, he would be able to leave safely. What? Up in the air, Long Chen suddenly saw another huge figure at the edge of his sight. He dropped from the sky and almost called out to Wild to run. That was because he saw that at the earth dragon's original location, another earth dragon was lying on the ground. It was slightly smaller than the one he was fighting against, but still enormous. Don't worry about that one. It's dead, said the Eastern Wasteland Belle. Dead? Long Chen sighed with relief. His cold sweat had drenched his back. If he had to face 2 earth dragons, then there wasn't the slightest chance of winning. From up in the sky, he had also gotten a better view. He saw that there was also a cave where the earth dragon had been. It was unknown what was inside. Little fellow, you really are sinister enough. That poison pill of yours won't be able to kill the earth dragon, but it will weaken its power by around 70%, said the Eastern Wasteland Belle. It hadn't expected Long Chen would have such a method. Sinister enough? Hee, I'll take that as praise. And 70%? Hee, that's even more effective than I had expected, said Long Chen, delighted. The earth dragon suddenly roared. The poison was spreading throughout its body, and it couldn't stop it. In its fury, it opened its mouth, and a golden light shot toward Long Chen. Careful! Shouted the Eastern Wasteland Belle. Long Chen jumped in terror, not expecting the Earth Dragon to have such a terrifying attack. That wasn't its fire breath, but a kind of divine ability. The instant Long Chen sensed that feeling of crisis, he instinctively used the lightning body blink to dodge to the side. The ray of golden light just narrowly missed his body. But although it didn't strike him head-on, just the shockwaves from it made him feel like a hammer had smashed into his body. His clothes were blown apart, and he wildly vomited blood. His body almost collapsed. Long Chen was horrified. He hastily dodged and put on a new set of robes. He flashed through the air, not letting the Earth Dragon land a second shot against him. That is one of the Earth Dragon's core abilities. Even a foundation forging cultivator would be killed if they were struck, explained the Eastern Wasteland Belle. Long Chen felt a burst of terror. That attack had been too powerful, and there hadn't even been any sign of it coming. Not good, that kind of attack will exhaust its core energy. That's what Hua Long needs, said Long Chen. The Eastern Wasteland Belle was speechless. Long Chen kept saying that Ling Yuan was crazy, but wasn't he even crazier? The best time to kill the Earth Dragon was the moment it had exhausted all its core energy. But Long Chen actually cared about the energy in its Nidan. He was the true madman. Long Chen continued to weave through the air, not letting the Earth Dragon lock onto him and release that attack again. That would save its core energy. Eventually, he got closer to the Earth Dragon, and it suddenly slammed one of its wings at him. Long Chen was delighted to see that its speed and power had clearly dropped. That should be the effect of the poison. He pushed the lightning body blink to its peak, deftly dodging its wings, claws, tail, and breath. Its body was huge, and with its power and speed drastically reduced, it wasn't nimble. It was unable to threaten Long Chen. Long Chen was like a fly buzzing around it. No matter how it attacked, it was unable to strike him. It roared in fury. Boom! Because of its fury, the Earth Dragon smashed both its wings down. As a result, dust blew into the air, and it tottered a few steps. A good chance. Long Chen had been waiting for a long while now. His broadsword slashed down on its wing at precisely the moment it had lost balance. The Earth Dragon was too powerful, and with its defense, his saber didn't cause any damage to the wing. But the huge force made it lose its balance even more. It tumbled, rolling on the ground. When it rose from the ground, it was a bit dizzy. One reason was due to the tumbling, while the other was due to the poison. Its reflexes were slowed a great deal. Raging Flame Prison. Countless flame runes rapidly formed a prison around the Earth Dragon. In its muddled state, it was easily caught. Seeing that, Long Chen was delighted. After this much planning, he had finally created an opportunity. It had to be known that with his current power, trying to trap an 8th-rank magical beast like the Earth Dragon was practically impossible. While the magical art was forming, he needed the Earth Dragon to not move. Otherwise, if it struggled just as it was forming, in its weakest state, the flame prison would be brittle and easily broken by this powerful magical beast. So in order to use the magical art, he had to first keep the Earth Dragon still for a moment. Originally, he had thought if he landed split the heavens on its head, there would have been a good chance of making it dizzy for half a breath while he used the raging flame prison. But the Earth Dragon's power had far exceeded his expectations. It was a good thing that he had the poison pill to weaken it, allowing him to grasp this opportunity. The flame prison had just appeared when chanting filled the air. Boundless flame energy surged into the flame prison. The Earth Dragon crazily struggled while Long Chen circulated the raging flame prison with his full power. However, the Earth Dragon was too large and powerful. It was like a bird cage made out of threads of gold was trapping a rooster. The flame prison seemed flimsy in front of the Earth Dragon, and it was constantly rocking. It was even a bit comical. But Long Chen didn't feel like it was comical in the slightest. His heart had risen into his throat. It really looked like the flame prison would break at any moment. Wild, quickly hit its head, shouted Long Chen. With the Nirvana scripture, he was pouring his energy into the flame prison. He could only just barely keep it contained. Wild, who had long since been prepared, hastily rushed out. His legs stamped on the ground, and he shot into the air. His figure suddenly grew explosively, turning him into a giant 30 meters tall. Although it was his second time seeing it, Long Chen was still awed. Wild smashed his bone club down on the earth dragon's head. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled. Blood splashed and the earth dragon crashed through the flame prison, flying into the distance. What? It's still not dead. Long Chen was shocked. Half of its head was now caved in because of Wild's attack. But then he suddenly realized that the earth dragon didn't have a crystal core. All of its energy was located in its Niden. Huolong, it's up to you now. Long Chen waved his hand. The flame tattoo on his arm lit up, and a blue ray of light shot toward the heavily injured earth dragon. Huolong's 3,000-meter body charged toward the earth dragon. Its size was already very large, but compared to the earth dragon, Huolong seemed like a malnourished child attacking a large man. At the same time as Huolong flew out, Lei Long followed. That wasn't Long Chen's order. It had flown out on its own to help Huolong. Huolong and Lei Long immediately coiled around the earth dragon's neck. Their runes circulated, tightly clenching, attempting to strangle it. Long Chen knew that even the double dragon destruction wouldn't necessarily be able to cause any effective injuries to the earth dragon. So he had them fight while preserving their energy in search of an opportunity. Only now did Long Chen realize how foolish he had been to challenge an 8th-rank magical beast, and one that was a ruler amongst 8th-rank magical beasts at that. They fundamentally weren't existences he could challenge. The earth dragon roared furiously, trying to shake them off. Its throat was the thinnest part of its body, and it was the only place the two of them were able to wrap around and threaten it with. The earth dragon's runes suddenly lit up, and a terrifying pressure descended. Seeing that the earth dragon was just about to throw off its restrictions, Long Chen jumped in fright. Wild hit it again. Long Chen shouted upon seeing that Wild was still in his giant form. As soon as Wild had struck the first time, he had felt like his power was retreating. He had just been about to put away the barbarian blood bronze body. But hearing Long Chen's order, he hastily smashed his club down. Boom! The sound of bones breaking rang out. The earth dragon's head was now completely deformed, but it still didn't die. Suddenly, rumbling came from the earth dragon's body. Long Chen's expression immediately changed. It was about to rely on the energy within its Niden to heal. Long Chen's face turned green. 8th-rank magical beasts were truly too terrifying. If he allowed it to heal, then in its berserk state, it was unknown whether even the dragon scale could stop it. The earth dragon had been blown into the distance by Wild's attack. Suddenly, Long Chen's eyes brightened. He sent a message to Lei Long and Huolong, split the heavens too. Huolong immediately let go of the earth dragon and dodged. Only Lei Long continued to tightly hold onto it. At this moment, Long Chen's attack landed. How vicious, muttered the Eastern Wasteland Belle. The earth dragon had yet to stabilize after being struck by Wild. Now it was once more sent flying. As its stomach flipped into the air, it immediately struggled. As it struggled, near its tail, a hole was revealed. That was the earth dragon's anus. Because it had used too much force, it had opened. At that moment, a blue fire dragon shrank down and squeezed through. The earth dragon let out a miserable roar that shook the 9 heavens. It immediately began to struggle on a new level. It crazily rolled back and forth, destroying the land. Its wings were like blades while its tail was like a whip, destroying everything around it. Long Chen was horrified. He hastily rushed over to Wild's side. Seeing his weakened state, he pulled him away. Long Chen had only just left when Lei Long finally couldn't hold on any longer and was shattered. It transformed into lightning runes that returned to his arm. It clearly wasn't able to hold back the earth dragon once it began this crazy struggle. Long Chen flew into the distance. Wild quickly took out a magical beast's corpse and began to devour it. He felt like he was about to starve to death. On the other hand, Long Chen was looking at the crazily struggling earth dragon in shock. This earth dragon was truly too terrifying. It had been consecutively heavily injured by Wild but still possessed such power. Suddenly, a muffled bang came from within the earth dragon's body. It stiffened and then fell motionlessly to the ground. Long Chen finally sighed with relief. Only now did he sense that his back was covered in sweat. Feeling the wind blowing on him, he felt like he was about to collapse. Hua Long had managed to succeed. From an extremely crafty angle, it had broken through the Earth Dragon's practically flawless defense. It had managed to charge into its body and directly devour its Niden. With its Niden devoured, it was like a human whose heart had been crushed. It immediately lost the source of its power. Crap, I need food. Wild suddenly roared and charged towards the Earth Dragon, his eyes red. His hunger made him feel crazy. He grabbed its claw, but no matter how he pulled, the scales wouldn't come off. In his urgency, Wild directly opened his mouth and bit down on the scales. Long Chen felt goosebumps. Those scales that even treasure items could barely harm were being devoured by Wild. But the scales were also too hard, and Wild's own mouth was bleeding. It seemed he didn't notice that as he continued crunching down on the scales along with some of the Earth Dragon skin. Just like that, Wild knelt down and viciously bit into the exposed skin. That incomparably tough skin was also torn off, and then seeing blood leaking out, Wild opened his mouth and began to drink it. Fuck, you can't drink that. It's poisonous. Long Chen hastily shot forward, about to pull him away. But Wild was too fast. He had already eaten his way into the Earth Dragon's body. Half of his body was already inside its flesh, and Long Chen only managed to grab his leg. It seemed Wild had lost all sense of reason. No matter how Long Chen pulled, he just continued to bite the flesh inside, refusing to leave. Long Chen found that funny as well as startling. But the hidden ground gold Spider King's poison was still present. Wild would also be poison like this. Let him be. The barbarian race only eats flesh. Anything that has meat and blood can be eaten. They aren't affected by poison, said the Eastern Wasteland Belle. What? Long Chen was startled. They were unaffected by poison? What kind of constitution was that terrifying? Just as he was dumbfounded, Wild had already dug his way into the Earth Dragon's claw, leaving behind only a bloody hole to show where he had entered. The sound of him eating could be heard from inside. Perhaps what you said was right. Your opportunities all lie within danger, sighed the Eastern Wasteland Belle. That's just what I've learned through my experience. The heavens are often unfair to me, and sometimes it seems that they even want to kill me. I need to get stronger, so I have to risk my life to gain more chips. Fuck, just talking about that is infuriating. The heavens birth all things. I never asked to be born. But since they birthed me, they can't always be trying to take my life. Fuck, once I'm stronger, I'll definitely overturn these idiot heavens. Long Chen clenched his teeth. This thinking of yours is extremely heretical, said the Eastern Wasteland Belle. TC, if you had my experiences, you'd be even more heretical. Long Chen shook his head. Only people who personally had to go through what had happened to him would understand his fury. Suddenly, a blue light flew out from around the Earth Dragon's tail. It transformed into a huge dragon that flew through the air. Long Chen was delighted. Hua Long's power had increased by quite a bit. Its size had increased by 50% now. That was an immense benefit. Hua Long excitedly flew through the air, expressing its pride and power. Long Chen smiled, allowing it to be excited for a bit. Hua Long and Lei Long were like children in terms of intelligence. Long Chen jumped onto the Earth Dragon's head. He slashed Flying Rainbow at a seam between bones, making sure it was completely dead so that it wouldn't suffer any longer. The Earth Dragon's life energy was shockingly powerful. Its head had been smashed, and its Niden had been devoured, but it had still been alive. But that kind of living was just torment. This blow of Long Chen's was his mercy. After resolving that, he almost habitually put the corpse away when he remembered Wild was still in its claw. He swept out his divine sense and was speechless. In just a short time, Wild had consumed all the flesh in the claw. That was an 8th rank magical beast's flesh. The amount of energy in it was terrifying to imagine. But Wild had already eaten several tons without being satisfied. However, several tons of flesh was nothing when it came to the Earth Dragon's huge body. Go check the other Earth Dragon. That's where your greatest harvest is. According to your combat power, you should have definitely lost this battle and died. But you won, so your harvest is big enough to make others red-eyed, sighed the Eastern Wasteland Belle. The Eastern Wasteland Belle wasn't aware Long Chen had the dragon scale and could have escaped at any time, as the dragon scale had constantly been in the primal chaos space. Long Chen's eyes brightened. He rushed over to the peak of the mountain. He left this earth dragon for Wild to eat. This second earth dragon was 2.5 miles long. That was a bit smaller than the first one, but still enormous. It was lying on the ground with no signs of life. It's dead. Long Chen found this strange. There weren't any injuries on its body or any signs of battle. It was like it was sleeping. Hua Long. In any case, it was a treasure. Once Hua Long devoured its Niden, its power would once more increase. He called out to it. But Hua Long didn't come out. It said that this earth dragon didn't have any energy in its Niden. What? Senior, didn't you say that this was the greatest harvest? Asked Long Chen. Long Chen felt the Eastern Wasteland Belle in his spiritual space shake slightly. A ray of light suddenly appeared in the outside world and cut across the earth dragon's abdomen. Its powerful defenses that Long Chen hadn't been able to pierce were like paper in front of that light. A large gash appeared in the earth dragon's abdomen. Suddenly, 4 huge eggs rolled out. Long Chen's eyes almost popped out. Earth dragon eggs? Yes, these are the earth dragon's eggs. Your luck was actually excellent this time. This was a pair of earth dragons, and the mother dragon died. Fortunately, the eggs inside it have already fully formed. Even though the mother dragon died, the eggs still incubated, said the Eastern Wasteland Belle. Long Chen was delighted. This earth dragon was not the outside world's earth dragon where they possessed impure bloodlines and could only grow to the 6th rank. But since these were the eggs of 8th rank earth dragons, they would also mature into 8th rank earth dragons. Most importantly, with a beast tamer like Meng Qi, they would get the best growing conditions to bring out all their potential. Ha, gold, I've really struck gold this time. Long Chen couldn't help but laugh. Meng Qi could have one and Tang Wan'er could have one. That was a must. As for that little fellow Guoran, this was definitely a divine item for showing off. If he didn't give one to him, he would call his boss petty. After all, he was the general of the Dragon Blood Legion. Even if it was just for appearances, he had to have a powerful mount. As for the last one, Long Chen suddenly thought of Little Snow. Within the spiritual space, Little Snow let out a quiet growl. It actually understood Long Chen's intention and declined. Long Chen had been thinking of leaving one egg for Little Snow to eat. There might be a 1 in 10,000 chance it could help him break through. Long Chen wouldn't hesitate to pay any price for Little Snow to continue advancing. Fine, then I'll put them away first and we can talk about it later. Long Chen put away the 4 eggs as well as the corpse. Just as Long Chen was feeling completely satisfied, Hua Long suddenly sent him a message. There's something you need in the cave? Long Chen was startled. Although Hua Long's intelligence wasn't high, it was still able to communicate simple thoughts to him. Long Chen carefully examined his surroundings. The top of this mountain was flat and very large. There was an open space dozens of miles wide. In the center, there was a shaft that led straight down. That shaft was 100 meters wide. Originally, Long Chen had thought it would be the Earth Dragon's lair. But now that he thought about it, that didn't make sense. With the Earth Dragon's huge body, there was no way it would fit. With Hua Long's reminder, Long Chen became curious. His wings flapped and he slowly flew down. The shaft went straight down. Everything was extremely stable. Even after the terrifying battle outside, this mountain still hadn't collapsed. Long Chen descended several miles. He hadn't just reached the heart of the mountain, but he had even descended underground. However, he still wasn't at the end. As he fell down, he realized what it was that Hua Long wanted. As he went deeper, a fierce heat came closer. Suddenly, a wave of heat erupted from underground. This shaft was like a chimney, allowing the fire to explode from below. Long Chen hastily circulated his flame energy, protecting him. At the same time, he stabbed his broadsword into the wall, using it to stay stable. No wonder the 2 earth dragons would make this place their home. As flame attribute magical beasts, They were absorbing this flame energy to cultivate. Once he was over 10 miles underground, the space suddenly widened. Looking around, Long Chen was dumbfounded. This place was actually a huge lava pool hundreds of miles wide. With each wild surge of the lava, powerful heat waves that could roast an ordinary celestial would blast out. Suddenly, the lava erupted. A wave of it crashed toward Long Chen. He snorted and slashed his broadsword, breaking the wave. After he broke the wave, a roar rang out. A huge figure flew out of the lava. It was a lion formed out of flames. When it appeared, the heat coming off of it immediately turned this underground world indistinct. That heat caused space to twist chaotically. An earth flame. Long Chen let out a startled cry. In this world, only earth flames possessed such terrifying flame energy. It was practically powerful enough to destroy heaven and earth, incinerating anything that it touched. Furthermore, this earth flame was extremely condensed, to an even greater degree than Hualong. The flame lion let out a furious roar and charged at Long Chen. At the same time, a roar came from Hualong. Its huge body shot over and enveloped the flame lion. What startled Long Chen was that Hualong was immediately broken apart with a single blow from the flame lion. How powerful! Hualong isn't its match. However, an earth flame did not possess a body of flesh and blood. When its body was broken, it transformed into runes that once more condensed into a flame dragon, continuing to attack the flame lion. But Hualong's huge body was as weak as paper in front of the flame lion. It wasn't able to receive a single blow. "Senior, can you help me suppress that earth flame?" asked Long Chen to the Eastern Wasteland Bell. This earth flame beast was too powerful. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before Hualong couldn't hold on any longer. And without Hualong's protection, Long Chen wouldn't stand a chance against this flame lion. "That is simple for me, but I must warn you. If I do that, it will cancel out the karma of me taking your reward from the trial. Other than that, for freeing me, I can help you out once in a life and death situation. But once I do, the karma between us will be over. I can't randomly help you. We are on completely different levels, you understand?" said the Eastern Wasteland Bell. Long Chen smiled. "Don't worry, Senior, I'm not such a greedy person. Nor will I depend on others." The main problem was just that the flame lion was too powerful. Hualong was unable to even trap it. Otherwise, he wouldn't even need to ask the Eastern Wasteland Bell. As long as Hualong could have trapped it for a single moment, he could have pulled it into the primal chaos space. Long Chen trusted that the primal chaos bead was definitely capable of subduing it. There are many kinds of earth flames. Your earth flame is called the blue underground flame. In truth, its ranking isn't very high. It isn't even in the top 100. The blood incinerating lion flame in front of you is much better. It's ranked 96th. My advice would be for you to subdue the blood incinerating lion flame and then feed your current earth flame to it. That would get you the most benefits. Long Chen shook his head. "Just like Little Snow, I don't think of Hualong as a helper or a weapon, but a companion who fights alongside me. As long as it doesn't abandon me, I won't abandon it. You can consider that foolish, but I'm used to that foolishness. I can't change this fault of mine, so please go ahead." Long Chen understood what the Eastern Wasteland Bell was saying. The blue underground flame's innate ability wasn't very high. There was no value in raising it, so it was better to switch it with the blood incinerating lion flame. However, what Long Chen was after wasn't to increase the profit as much as possible. He couldn't toss aside companionship for profit. Although he knew the Eastern Wasteland Bell's suggestion was the right one, because he was Long Chen, he couldn't do it. Seeing that, the Eastern Wasteland Bell didn't get angry. In fact, although he found such a thing very foolish, he also found it likable. It was its first time seeing such a person. A broken bell appeared in the air. Although the bell was incomplete, a majestic aura filled the air. A will that could subdue the world appeared. A single speck of rust fell from the Eastern Wasteland Bell's surface, revealing an immortal character. In that instant, Long Chen was shocked to find that the world seemed to suddenly become still. Time and space were frozen. Boom! A golden wave flew out of the bell, slamming into the flame lion. The flame lion instantly exploded, becoming runes. Those runes were then rapidly condensed into a ball by some inexplicable energy. Hua Long directly swallowed that ball and then returned to Long Chen's arm. The Eastern Wasteland bell disappeared. Hua Long had also disappeared. Everything had disappeared. The world returned to normal, as if everything that had just happened had just been an illusion. Long Chen shook his head, only now recovering from his shock. He finally understood just how terrifying the Eastern Wasteland bell was. It was in a broken, half-dead state, but it was able to subdue this terrifying earth flame, seemingly without expending any effort. He gulped. This was a legendary divine item. It was truly powerful. If it was at its peak, wouldn't it be powerful enough to destroy the entire world? But such a terrifying existence had ended up in such a miserable situation. Just what secrets were hiding behind this? Long Chen couldn't ask, as even if he did, the Eastern Wasteland bell wouldn't answer. It has devoured the blood-incinerating lion flame and descended into slumber. It will take a while for it to absorb all that energy. After all, the blood-incinerating lion flame is many times stronger than it. On the other hand, if you had allowed the blood-incinerating lion flame to devour it, not only would its battle power have rapidly increased, but it would have been able to fight very quickly. Old people really talk a lot. The Eastern Wasteland bell suddenly mocked itself. Many thanks for your good intentions, senior. I'm just too stupid and obstinate. I can only live like this for the rest of my life, laughed Long Chen, comforting the Eastern Wasteland bell. Although he hadn't listened to it, he still accepted its intentions. Fine, although I find this character of yours a bit inconceivable, it seems this kind of a character makes it easier for you to win other people's trust. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Let's go. This blood-incinerating lion flame was your greatest gain here, and once Hua Long awakens, you'll get a pleasant surprise, said the Eastern Wasteland bell. Long Chen nodded. He truly had gained a great deal. In fact, he even felt like his own luck wasn't that bad. The earth flame had released a wave of flame energy every now and then from here. His guess was that the mother dragon had been too weak while incubating eggs, but she had forcibly absorbed the flame energy to cultivate. After all, that flame energy only came every now and then, so it was very precious to the earth dragons. But in her weakened state, the encroachment of the flame energy must have disrupted her aura, shattering her Niden and causing her to die. Once he returned atop the mountain, Long Chen suddenly saw a group of people around the earth dragon's corpse. He frowned and quickly rushed over. Stop. This magical beast's corpse was found by our wind leopard race. If you're smart, you'll immediately scram, shouted someone upon seeing Long Chen come. These people were extremely tall, while their ears and noses were similar to a leopard. Long Chen actually did know about the wind leopard race. They had been at the same entrance as him. Ouyang Chuyu had introduced them to him. Laughable. You found it, so it's yours? Then I say that the immemorial path was found by me. So according to you, the immemorial path is mine? Sneered Long Chen. Just looking at their arrogant manner irritated him. These ancient races felt themselves to be above the human race. In truth, Long Chen also looked down on them because they were actually the descendants of humans mating with beasts. They possessed the human race's blood, but they also possessed the blood of ancient beasts. The strength of their physical bodies was many times stronger than an ordinary human cultivator due to that influence, giving them a large advantage. There were some ancient beasts who possessed pure bloodlines. They were not called magical beasts. Instead, they called themselves Xian beasts, and they were able to transform into a full human form. In ancient times, there had been a period of peace when human experts had intermarried with Xian beasts, birthing children that had inherited a portion of both their strengths. Later, for some unknown reason, there had been an immense battle between the Xian beasts and the human cultivators. Their relationships had also fractured. That caused an awkward consequence. The descendants of the two sides had ended up being abandoned. Neither side accepted them. Then for some other unknown reason, the Xian beasts had declined. Many of them had disappeared. As for the human race, they had also been greatly weakened. The ones possessing both their bloodlines ended up becoming the greatest force back then. They had called themselves the Ancient Races. It was said that they had led the Martial Heaven continent for quite a long time. Ouyang Chuyu guessed that the only reason that had occurred was because an immense war had been fought between the humans and the Shen beasts. Their inheritances were severed as their elites fell. As for the Ancient Races, they had become the greatest benefactors. Later, the human race had finally erupted after being suppressed by the Ancient Races for too long. An intense war was fought. During that prolonged war, the human race gave birth to several shocking experts, allowing them to suppress the Ancient Races. In the end, the Ancient Races had no choice but to compromise. The two sides formed an agreement, saying neither side would attack the other. As a result, the battle between the human race and the Ancient Races had only just ended when the human race's interior fragmented again. Back then, a portion of the human race had said that they should destroy the Ancient Races while they could. They wanted to pull them up by the roots and make them completely extinct. There was another portion who thought there was no need to slaughter them all. Even if they won and the Ancient Races were exterminated, it would cost them dearly. And after all, they still possessed a blood connection. As a result, the disharmony in the human race grew more and more. In the end, weapons had been raised. They had met on the battlefield. One side felt that the other was being excessively merciful. They were leaving behind a disaster for their descendants that would sooner or later erupt. The other side felt that their opponents were too cruel. The Ancient Races weren't magical beasts. Even if they couldn't be treated as humans, they couldn't be treated as beasts. After all, the Ancient Races' numbers had been enormous back then, and their appearance was similar to humans. They had women and children. How could they bring down the butcher's knife on them? Why not give them a chance so that there could be peace? In their fury, the experts who had proposed slaughtering them directly left the human race's army and began a slaughter of the Ancient Races on their own. Their numbers were too low, and so they were unable to face the Ancient Race's army head-on. The only thing they could do was target their weaker members. Those weaker members were the Ancient Race's women and children. An enormous number of them were slaughtered by those human experts. They were extremely vicious, and any member of the Ancient Races would be slaughtered. They said that enemies were enemies, and they wouldn't give them time to grow. Their actions infuriated the Ancient Races and the human race. Both sides joined together to handle them. As a result, through numbers and power, those vicious human experts suffered defeat after defeat. Just as they were about to be exterminated, a heaven-shaking reversal occurred. Back then, the void had been ripped apart. A black figure had appeared in the sky and saved those people. Those people swore that they would make the foolish human race pay a price for their actions. As a result, they formed the corrupt path. As for the black figure that had saved them, it became their corrupt god. After a brief moment of peace, once the corrupt path had rested and restored their power, they began to launch attacks against the righteous path. The corrupt path had suddenly gained extremely terrifying cultivation techniques that increased their power through slaughter. Their cultivation speed was horrifyingly fast. The righteous path attacked back, but the corrupt path fought guerrilla warfare. After killing everyone in one place, they would disappear. The righteous path suddenly realized they weren't just killing people, they were also capturing children. Without even thinking about it, they knew they were raising them to be their new experts. At that time, the righteous path had realized that the situation wasn't good. Continuing like this wasn't a solution. They had to think of a way to stop the corrupt path. But the corrupt path was like the wind, and their lair was hidden. Due to this, the righteous path asked the Ancient Races for help. The Ancient Races had quite a few experts that had inherited divine abilities from the Shen beasts. They could assist the righteous path in finding the corrupt path's lair, and then they could work together to exterminate them. But what infuriated the righteous path was that the Ancient Races actually refused to help. Later, they realized the corrupt path was only targeting the righteous path. They didn't attack the Ancient Races. That enraged the righteous path mightily. When the corrupt path had slaughtered the Ancient Races, it was the righteous path that had saved them. But now that the corrupt path was targeting the righteous path, They actually chose to be spectators. The ancient race's conduct was infuriating, but after so much time, they had recovered a great deal of their power. The righteous path couldn't possibly wage a war against the ancient races while fighting the corrupt path. Quite a few of them wished they really had exterminated the ancient races, but they were helpless about it. The only thing that the righteous path could do was fiercely increase their own strength. The fortunate thing was that the righteous path had countless experts on their side. They established more sects and recruited more disciples, doing their best to raise them. It went without saying that the righteous path's numbers were many, many times that of the corrupt path. Now that the righteous path went all out against the corrupt path immediately suffered a grave blow. Their experts were cut down in droves, and they vanished without a trace. A few millennia after they vanished, the righteous experts thought that the corrupt path had already collapsed from the grave injury they had been dealt. As a result, they had once more begun their melodramatic storyline, internal strife. Thousands of sects began to get arrogant, refusing to submit to anyone. They crazily expanded their territory, snatching resources and fighting against other powers. Therefore, just as they were fighting amongst themselves, the corrupt path suddenly invaded again. Through thousands of years of recovery, the corrupt path had reached a terrifying level of power. With the righteous path in their chaotic state, they were dealt a miserable blow by the corrupt path. But in the end, the righteous path simply had too many experts. The corrupt path had killed so many of their number, snatching all their resources, but they weren't able to get a complete victory. The righteous path had finally awakened. They gathered their supreme powers, supervising them in battle and reconciling their differences. Any powers that refused to listen would be attacked by the rest of the righteous path. Although there were still many small struggles, the righteous path had calmed down. Once the conflict grew to a certain level, powerful and mysterious existences would come out to stop them, mediating the conflict. With the precedent of the ancient races, Pill Valley also took action. Originally, Pill Valley had been a power of the righteous path. But then they gradually became independent. To get the greatest profit, they would do business with any side, righteous or corrupt. When they announced their independence, it caused huge waves. Although countless righteous experts had protested, Pill Valley had still continued with it. At the same time, another sect suddenly also declared their independence, the Huayun sect. They established the Huayun auction houses under their banner. Because Pill Valley was too enormous and controlled the essential medicinal pills, the righteous path could only accept their independence despite their protests. If they had continued protesting, then Pill Valley would refuse to sell them medicinal pills. But the Huayun sect was different. On the very day they declared their independence, they were beset by countless righteous experts. A bloody battle had erupted, and the Huayun sect's core had been heavily damaged. The righteous path refused to allow a second Pill Valley to appear. But the Huayun sect was tenacious. A few decades later, they once more appeared. As a result, they were once more destroyed. Then the cycle continued, but each time they reappeared, their power would be greater than before. On the 17th time that they appeared, a truly heaven-shaking battle had been fought. Countless experts had fallen, but this time, the Huayun sect remained standing. The righteous path was finally afraid. The Huayun sect had far too much money. Each time they were destroyed, they would spend an exorbitant amount of money to invite new experts. In fact, they even hired runaways and criminals to use suicidal attacks. It could be said that the Huayun sect's foundation was built through money and lives. Later, the Huayun sect gradually spread throughout every inch of the Martial Heaven continent. Any place that had alchemy guilds also had a Huayun auction house. It was like the Huayun sect was competing with Pill Valley. In the beginning, Pill Valley had disdained the Huayun sect, but then it had developed at a shocking rate, making them speechless. When Pill Valley finally wanted to suppress the Huayun sect, they found that the Huayun sect was already everywhere. Most importantly, the Huayun sect also accepted poor people, and so their religious beliefs were easier for people to accept. They believed in the wealth god. They had billions of believers, because it was the Huayun sect and their wealth god that had saved them from poverty. It was because of the Huayun sect that those poor people had managed to step onto the path of cultivation. Their devotion was almost frightening. If they tried to suppress the Huayun sect with brute force, they would immediately receive the unfearing attacks from the Huayun sect's billions of disciples. Just thinking about that was intimidating. Therefore, the Huayun sect had also formed. They, along with Pill Valley and the ancient races, were existences beyond the righteous and corrupt paths. But although the ancient races announced that they were neutral, they felt a profound hatred for the human race, especially the corrupt path. They still remembered when they ruled this world. But now they had to stand on the same level as the inferior human race. So they would often provoke the human race, as they always tolerated it. That made their arrogance greater and greater until they stopped giving a damn about the righteous path's people. Long Chen, if you still don't scram, you'll never be able to scram in this life, said one of the wind leopard's experts, killing intent surging out of his eyes. This earth dragon was killed by me. If you don't want to die, you'll hurry up and fuck off. Long Chen ignored his threat. What a joke. You can kill an 8th rank magical beast? If so, you would have long since proclaimed yourself the hegemon of the immemorial path. Since you want to die, I can only help you out. The wind leopard's experts refused to believe this magical beast was killed by Long Chen. That was simply impossible. They were filled with killing intent. Their movements were as fast as lightning, and they all shot at Long Chen at the same time. Their fingers had steel-like claws growing out of them. Runes sparkled on them, and their sharpness was comparable to treasure items. They immediately attacked together, aware that Long Chen was powerful due to what had happened right before the immemorial path had opened. Long Chen snorted and slashed his broadsword. He found that after he had reached the 12th heaven stage, his spiritual yuan had grown by several times. With his powerful spiritual yuan, it took him no time at all to use Split the Heavens. He could use it like it was an ordinary saber blow. A huge ray of sword light slashed down on them. Boom. Those wind leopard experts' expressions immediately changed. It was clearly a random blow from Long Chen, but it had locked all of them down. They hastily defended. But as a result, blood filled the air. Those claws that could compare to treasure items were like rotting wood in front of Long Chen's sword. Only one person survived and fell back, vomiting blood with his arms disfigured. He was completely shocked and unwilling to believe this. He was a rank 3 celestial, and an innate one at that. There was no need to doubt his power. But he wasn't even able to receive a single blow from Long Chen. In truth, he really was powerful. If Long Chen wanted to defeat him, it would take some effort. Even if he didn't summon the battle armor, he would at least need to summon the divine ring. Regretfully, this guy had looked down on Long Chen too much. Seeing that it was just a random blow from him, he also hadn't used his full power, thinking that it was just a testing move. As a result, he lost out immensely. He was just about to summon his cry of the heavenly Daos, but Long Chen didn't give him that chance. Like a phantom, Long Chen appeared right in front of him. His sword pierced directly through this guy's head. The thunder force on the broadsword directly destroyed his soul. He was killed instantly. If I didn't kill the few of you, I wouldn't have even been able to sense that I have gotten stronger. Long Chen pulled out his broadsword and sighed emotionally. As soon as he had advanced to the 12th heaven stage, Little Snow had brought him to fight an earth dragon. The earth dragon was too terrifying and had completely suppressed him. To Long Chen, it felt like he hadn't gotten any stronger at all. Now that he had killed an innate rank 3 celestial in just 2 moves, he finally experienced his strength. That made his confidence, which had been shaken by the earth dragon, become completely solid. Wild, get up. Long Chen slapped the broadsword against the earth dragon's foreleg. A 10-meter space had been eaten by Wild. He was like an ant that had eaten a flat space for himself and then fallen asleep. This was also why the wind leopard experts had failed to move the earth dragon's corpse into a spatial ring despite trying so hard. The space in spatial rings was static, and it was impossible to bring in living things. As for life rings, they were comparatively precious and small. Only alchemists used such small and mostly impractical life rings. Wild was within the earth dragon. so they were naturally unable to bring it into a spatial ring. Even when they died, they couldn't understand why they hadn't been able to bring it in. After Long Chen made a loud racket, Wild finally woke up and ate his way out of the Earth Dragon. He didn't even know when he had fallen asleep. All your cells have been activated. Long Chen let out a startled cry upon seeing Wild. There seemed to be a mysterious energy around Wild that caused space to circulate around him. This happened without him even doing anything. Furthermore, now that all his cells were activated, they had begun automatically absorbing energy from the air for him. "How do you feel?" asked Long Chen. "Really good, like I'm overflowing with energy. I also don't feel as hungry as before," said Wild excitedly. Previously, even when Wild was stuffed with food, he was still hungry. This was one of the rare times he was actually full. Long Chen nodded. One reason for this was because Wild had just eaten. An 8th rank magical beast's flesh was full of energy. The other reason was that all his cells had awoken. Some kind of mysterious technique seemed to have been activated, and they automatically drew energy out of the air to make up for his consumption. In other words, as long as Wild didn't do anything, he wouldn't have to exhaust so much energy. He wouldn't have to be constantly asleep to reduce his exhaustion like before. "Wild, you should keep this Earth Dragon. Now you can feel free to move around even without meat to eat. However, you are different from others and need meat to cultivate. You should stay in this forest. When you have time, go out to hunt. When you don't have time, just eat the Earth Dragon. With your current pace, you could eat this Earth Dragon for a full year. Remember to leave its skin. That can be used to equip the Dragon Blood Warriors. I'll leave now to take a look at some other places," said Long Chen. "Brother Long, you're going to go?" asked Wild. Long Chen's heart warmed. Although Wild's foolishness gave Long Chen a great deal of trouble, no matter how strong Wild became, he was still that pure child he had met in the Phoenix Cry Empire. His temperament had never changed, and he still treated him as a big brother. "Yes, I have to go. One reason is that I have to see if I can find more resources to equip the Dragon Blood Warriors, and another reason is to see if I can find our people. Only then will I be at ease. As for Song Mingyuan and Li Qi, I trust their decision. They should have eaten the heavenly Dao fruits that Guoran gave them, which should have increased their chance of surviving. If they can survive, then they'll definitely become amazing experts after experiencing this. You should just stay here. As long as you don't provoke an 8th rank magical beast, you'll be safe. I'll have Guoran come find you when I need you." Long Chen patted Wild's shoulder and then left in front of his unwilling gaze. Wild's constitution was too special. Long Chen had tried all the medicinal pills and secret arts he knew, but they had all been ineffective. Wild could only get energy from meat. Now that Wild cells had all been activated, he didn't know what would happen. But he could accept that things would go naturally. As for Wild's safety, Long Chen didn't bother worrying over that. Although Wild was normally foolish, he was extremely sensitive toward danger. Otherwise, there would have been no way for him to survive once Zhang Ming had been killed. Furthermore, when Wild summoned the barbarian blood bronze body, Long Chen had to ask himself if he could even block a single blow. Wild had incomparable power and was impervious to poison. Long Chen was completely confident in him staying here. Long Chen went on his way. He was currently already close to the core of the 10,000 Beast Forest. But in the end, he decided to detour around the core region. That was because as soon as he approached the core, he encountered another 8th rank Earth Dragon. This region was perhaps filled with 8th rank magical beasts. With his luck, perhaps he would even run into a 9th rank magical beast. A single Earth Dragon had cost Long Chen one of his trump cards and had required Wild's assistance. In the end, he had even been forced to use a grand anus-piercing art via Huolong to break the Earth Dragon's flawless defense. If he had been lacking any of them, he would have only been able to miserably flee. Now he had no Wild, no Huolong, and no poison pill. If he encountered an 8th rank magical beast, he would have no chance. And in the worst case, if he ran into one with low intelligence like an insect magical beast, the dragon scale wouldn't be able to stop them. Then even his life would be at risk. Bypassing the core region, Long Chen ended up with quite a few harvests. He killed quite a few 7th-rank magical beasts, and their corpses were all tossed into the black soil as nutrients. Those huge trees from the spirit world continued to grow. They were already 3 miles tall, and that was their final limit. Long Chen was delighted by how much life energy these trees could contain. As long as he wasn't killed in one blow, he would be able to recover from any injuries. He wouldn't have to be afraid of a long, intense battle. 7 days later, Long Chen finally reached the end of the 10,000 beast forest. It was truly huge. The immemorial path was truly shocking. Long Chen began approaching the main path again. That main path had more trials and more opportunities. Of course, there were also more disciples there and more danger. After a few hours of travel, he arrived at a barren mountain range. It was practically the opposite of the 10,000 beast forest. It was completely barren, and there was some kind of strange air here that made him feel uneasy. He was traveling through this place when he heard the sound of metal clashing. He was startled. Was the main path so exciting? As soon as he arrived, there would be a good show to watch? Long Chen hastily went over to see what looked like several righteous disciples attacking a woman. Seeing that woman, Long Chen shook. He was filled with delight. She had a graceful figure wrapped in violet robes that gave off a feeling of mystery. Her hair fell to her waist, and her skin was snow-white. Her face was veiled, only revealing her eyes. Those eyes were like a clear pool of water, but it was impossible to see the bottom. They seemed to be able to suck in a person's soul. That kind of beauty was dangerous, but a person couldn't help being drawn in. It was like she was a combination of an immortal fairy and a devilish enchantress. Those two styles made her beauty full of contradictions, but it was impossible to free yourself once you were lost within it. In this world, only she could possess such beauty, Yu Shaoqian. Long Chen hadn't expected that Yu Shaoqian had also entered the immemorial path. Furthermore, she was in the eastern region just like him. She was surrounded by over 10 experts. Her sword repeatedly flashed as she blocked all their attacks. Long Chen was surprised to see that her attackers weren't from the righteous or corrupt paths. They were a group of ancient race experts. The large canine teeth poking out of their mouths showed their identities. They were people from the Blazing Wolf race, and they were all rank 2 celestials and above. There was one fellow covered in scarlet fur with a powerful aura that only an innate rank 3 celestial could possess. They were attacking Yu Shaoqian, but although their attacks were sharp, Long Chen saw that they weren't going all out. They were holding back. Girl, being fancied by me is your fortune. Not every race has the qualifications to marry into my Blazing Wolf race. If you continue not to recognize my kindness, don't blame me for being merciless and going all out to suppress you. At that time, don't say that I don't know how to go easy on women, sneered the rank 3 celestial. Long Chen frowned. Wasn't it said that the ancient races didn't intermarry with the human race? This idiot dared to say such a thing? But then thinking about it, Long Chen guessed this idiot didn't have such good intentions. Most likely, he had just begun drooling over Yu Shaoqian's beauty. Although she was veiled, just her eyes and body were enough to infatuate any living being. These ancient race beasts were also unable to resist. I have no enmity with you. I hope you won't make things hard on me, said Yu Shaoqian coldly. Although her voice contained fury, it still sounded melodious and refreshing. Ha, you're finally willing to speak. Your voice is pretty nice. I've decided you're mine, laughed the rank 3 celestial, his eyes shining. Long Chen saw that Yu Shaoqian was already at the peak of Xiantian. According to reason, even if she couldn't kill these people, she should have been able to get away. He looked around and suddenly realized what was going on. There were quite a few people watching in secret. Yu Shaoqian didn't dare to release her full power with them all watching. It seemed it was time for the hero to save the beauty. Hey! All of you better stop and obediently leave behind everything valuable you have. Otherwise, today, I'll pull out your dog teeth, shouted Long Chen. Just like that, he swaggered over to them, looking down his nose at them. He's robbing us? The Blazing Wolf experts were dumbfounded. They thought they had misheard. It seemed they had only ever heard of people robbing others, but had never experienced it. In fact, it seemed their entire blazing wolf race had never experienced what that meant. They hadn't expected to run into such a person, and especially not such an arrogant person. He was even more arrogant than them. They stopped, but continued to surround Yu Shaoqian. Hearing Long Chen's voice, Yu Shaoqian shook slightly. Then looking at Long Chen's arrogant smile, she was delighted. Although she was wearing a veil, Long Chen trusted she was definitely smiling. "Brat, you dare to insult our blazing wolf race? What sect are you from?" demanded the rank 3 celestial. Although the blazing wolf race was tyrannical, they weren't stupid. If this person clearly knew they were from the blazing wolf race but still dared to do this, then he had to have a shocking background. Otherwise, he wouldn't have this kind of confidence. So he asked Long Chen for his sect. "Have you heard of the Xiantian Dao sect?" Long Chen smiled, leaning on his broadsword. "The Xiantian Dao sect?" The rank 3 celestial was a bit startled at first, but then he raged, "My blazing wolf race has no enmity with your Xiantian Dao sect. Are you trying to start a war?" Pow! His response was a slap in the face. Yu Shaoqian jumped, not expecting Long Chen to start fighting just like that. Furthermore, his speed was shocking. The blazing wolf race's innate rank 3 celestial merely sensed his vision darkening for an instant before he felt a burst of pain. His head buzzed and he flew back. The others all tried to attack, but Long Chen had immediately returned to his original location after that slap. He had come and gone like a phantom, finished in just the blink of an eye. It was like he hadn't even moved. "Idiot, I've already said to hand over everything valuable." "Starting a war? What I'm doing is robbing. Do I need to say it any clearer?" cursed Long Chen. "Fuck off," roared the rank 3 celestial. When had he ever suffered this kind of insult before? He directly stabbed his black spear at Long Chen. "Split the heavens." Boom. Long Chen's broadsword smashed into the spear. This attack of his was extremely treacherous. Because he had advanced to the 12th heaven stage, his spiritual yuan was extremely robust and it went through 9 acupuncture points instantly without requiring any effort. In truth, in a battle between people of the same level, the number of people that died to big ultimate moves that required time to use was less than 1 in 100. The other 99 died to an instantaneous technique. An ultimate move might be powerful, but the more powerful it was, the longer it took to use. Moreover, it was easy to interrupt, so such moves naturally couldn't be true killing moves. Instantaneous moves might be weaker, but they could come suddenly without your opponent sensing them. They were the true killing blows. Now that Long Chen had advanced to the 12th heaven stage, he could unleash the first form of split the heavens instantly, so it had become his most terrifying move. He didn't use his divine ring or battle armor and didn't release any of his powerful aura, so his enemy wouldn't feel any fear or be on guard. This was a perfect model of dressing like a pig to eat a tiger. As a result, the rank 3 celestial suffered a miserable loss. He didn't even summon his cry of the heavenly Daos before being sent flying. Both of his arms were broken, and his spear was flying out of his grasp. He was horrified because he suddenly realized Long Chen's second attack was already coming. No dash. A cry of despair was cut short as Long Chen's sword landed, turning him into a bloody mist. That cry still echoed through the air, but the crier was gone from this world. "Who? You dare to kill a member of our blazing wolf race? You and your family will definitely be dash." Golden light flashed. Countless golden scales devoured the other blazing wolf experts, instantly killing them. "Idiots, every time you open your mouth, you say you're going to kill a person's entire family and sect." "Stupid," snorted Long Chen. He looked down greatly on the ancient race's arrogant mouths. Originally, he had been planning on helping Yu Shaoqian out and just forcing them away. But as soon as he attacked, he found that he couldn't control himself. He didn't know if that was because of his fury in being looked down upon, or because they had insulted Yu Shaoqian. He grabbed the treasure item as well as the spatial rings that were still intact. He smiled broadly at Yu Shaoqian. "Miss Beauty, look at how heroically I saved you. I even killed the blazing wolf race's experts that were attacking you. About that, do you think you could consider giving your heart to me?" Yu Shaoqian thought back to when she had first met him in the Jiuli's secret realm. Now seeing his wacky and comical behavior, she smiled, but she didn't say anything back publicly. "Fool, you provoked a large disaster by killing them," she whispered once she walked over. "That's fine. I already have so much trouble to deal with that I don't care about another blazing wolf race. Let's go have a chat." Long Chen smiled. The two of them left, walking shoulder to shoulder. Those spectators were all stunned, feeling as if this world had gone crazy. Long Chen was too vicious. He even dared to attack the ancient races. Furthermore, he didn't just attack them, he killed them all. Just how powerful were the ancient races? Even if he had the Xiantiandao sect as a backer, if the ancient races turned hostile, would the Xiantiandao sect really fight against them for a single disciple? Furthermore, the ancient races were very united. Once one ancient race made a move, the others would also appear. Long Chen had provoked a disaster. What they didn't know was that Long Chen had long since provoked that disaster. Right now, what he needed to do was find his old free and unconstrained self. He had found that he was becoming more and more cautious of everything. If this continued, perhaps he would walk along the same path as in the Jiuli's secret realm. So when he encountered a provocation, he wouldn't choose to endure and retreat again. Since enemies were unavoidable, why not cut down a few of them in advance? That wasn't a bad thing. However, he didn't know that currently his name was not only transmitting throughout the righteous and corrupt paths, but also throughout the ancient races and other powers. Countless experts were setting their sights on Long Chen in the dark. Within a verdant little valley in a mountain range, there was a brook of fresh water. Perhaps it was this brook that gave the valley its life. Long Chen and Yu Shaoqian were sitting on a boulder beside the brook. The fresh water streamed past their feet, and the babble of the water refreshed their minds, allowing them to feel a rare moment of tranquility on the immemorial path. Yu Shaoqian stuck her hands into the water, feeling the water stream past her fingers. There were actually some nameless little fish swimming by their feet, causing her to laugh. Long Chen was sitting beside her, smelling her fragrance, and listening to her fairy-like laughter. He could rarely relax like this. Looking at her beautiful figure, Long Chen unconsciously became stupefied. "Long Chen, why don't you take off your shoes and put your feet in the water? It feels really nice," said Yu Shaoqian. Seeing him just staring at her, she blushed. "Me? No. In truth, I'm just too kind-hearted," said Long Chen after a moment's hesitation. Although it would be a fortuitous thing to bathe his feet with Yu Shaoqian, he shook his head. "What does kindness have to do with it? Am I being evil by doing this? No. What I mean is that if I put my feet in, all those fish will die from the smell. Then I would be evil." Yu Shaoqian laughed. Dislikable. How could it be that exaggerated? On the other hand, Long Chen was confident in his feet. Even if the fish wouldn't die from the smell, they would definitely faint. The 9-star Hegemon body art focused on physical strength. Thus, the amount of sweat he worked up was naturally great. Since entering the immemorial path, Long Chen hadn't washed his feet. Once he took off his shoes, that smell might even make himself faint. "Last time, why did you leave without saying goodbye?" asked Long Chen. "Sorry." Yu Shaoqian's expression became a bit unnatural. Although she was still veiled, he could sense that. "There's no need to apologize. It's just that when you left without saying goodbye, I thought I'd never see you again. I felt uncomfortable," sighed Long Chen. Her sudden departure truly had made him feel dejected last time. The world was so huge and there were countless dangers. Sometimes a single goodbye could last forever. Every time he thought of that, Long Chen would feel unwell. "I have my own secret sorrows," said Yu Shaoqian quietly. Her veil was becoming wet. Long Chen summoned the courage to take off her veil, revealing her flawless face. Although he had seen it before, seeing it again still made his heart pound. That beauty could truly infatuate a person. He took out a clean cloth and gently dabbed away her tears. "You're worried about implicating me?" Yu Shaoqian was moved but also sorry. She took the cloth and wiped her own tears. "I'm from a different world than you." My people are enemies of the entire Martial Heaven continent, so I can't have dealings with you. That would implicate you. But you fool, you actually helped Xiao die when you already knew my identity. You Xiaoqian continued to cry. Her status was special. She wasn't accepted by the world. Anyone who dared to make contact with her would be mercilessly killed. While cultivating the Heavenly Devil Heart Grand technique, she had received a backlash, harming her soul. She had needed a precious medicine called the Heavenly Netherworld Soul Replenishing Roots to heal. When Long Chen had learned that, he had refined a Heavenly Star Soul Replenishing pill for her. Once she had taken it, she had immediately recovered. Furthermore, Long Chen had also sent her a pile of Blood Fiend Sea Expansion pills. Those were the best pills for those advancing from Xiantian to Sea Expansion. Although the human race had a great deal of those pills, this action of his still made her endlessly grateful. If the outside world learned of Long Chen's actions, he would be hunted down by the entire world, labeled a traitor to the human race. By sending her those pills, he had essentially been handing his life to her. Never in her dreams would she imagine someone she had only met once would treat her so well. So facing him now, she felt both emotional and ashamed. No matter how you put it, we are battle companions that fought through life and death together. If I could just watch as you suffered, I wouldn't be Long Chen. Long Chen smiled. Thank you. Yu Xiaoqian smiled through her tears. That was another kind of beauty, like a peach blossom after a rainfall. Xiaoqian, I think you should put your veil back on, said Long Chen suddenly with a bitter smile. What, do you not like looking at me? Yu Xiaoqian was surprised and a bit disappointed, but she still put her veil back on. No, I like looking at it. But my heart can't bear it. If you don't believe me, just feel. Long Chen pulled Yu Xiaoqian's hand and placed it over his heart. Currently, it was pounding wildly. You're doing that on purpose. Yu Xiaoqian blushed and turned away. But she could still feel his powerful heartbeat. In all honesty, I didn't do it on purpose, said Long Chen. Yu Xiaoqian's charm was just so strong that it was fatal. Otherwise, Long Chen wouldn't ask her to veil herself again. A feast for the eyes was also a delight. Fine, whether it was on purpose or not, I like it either way. Yu Xiaoqian smiled. Her hands were lightly twisting the corner of her robes in a bashful manner. She could tell that this was Long Chen's strange way of praising her beauty. She suddenly brazenly grabbed his hand but had a nervous light in her eyes. How have you been since we parted? Long Chen was an old fox in this manner. He knew Yu Xiaoqian wanted to get closer but was also embarrassed. He quickly held her hand and said, I've been very well. All I do is fight and then kill and fight. Long Chen gave her a simple narration of what he had experienced, starting from the battle in the Jiuli's secret realm. But he found that she was extremely curious about the world, and she made him explain things in greater detail. As a result, this simple narration took a whole day. Long Chen, you're a good person. It's no wonder that many big sisters like you, said Yu Xiaoqian with a complicated expression. How about you stay with us? It'll be livelier with more people, said Long Chen. He felt a bit guilty, as these words were clearly used to seduce people. But seeing that Yu Xiaoqian didn't reply, he immediately became awkward. He had ruined the good atmosphere with a single sentence. Ah, Xiaoqian, how about I give you a gift? Long Chen suddenly took out an egg. An earth dragon's egg? Yu Xiaoqian was startled. Long Chen was also startled. But now that he thought about it, he had already experienced Yu Xiaoqian's vast knowledge. She knew the heavens, she knew the earth, and she knew everything in between. Yes, it really is an earth dragon's egg. It's yours now. In the future, you'll have a powerful house pet. I hope you won't decline, as that will make me feel bad, said Long Chen. Yu Xiaoqian looked at Long Chen and suddenly hugged him, surprising him. It seemed this happiness had come too suddenly. If he had known this would happen, he would have given it to her as soon as he saw her. Bastard, you evil person, I know you're seducing me. Yu Xiaoqian cried into Long Chen's embrace. Long Chen's excitement vanished. The hand he had been about to embrace her with turned rigid. He didn't know whether he should embrace her or pull it back. How did his pickup arts fail? It was over for him. He had been seen through. As expected, routines couldn't be depended on. He couldn't help but feel regret. But although I clearly know that, I can't refuse it. So you're a bastard. Yu Shaoqian held on tightly, her tears drenching his robes. Long Chen didn't know what to do. His pickup arts had been seen through. This was his first time running into such a situation. He suddenly recalled that Yu Shaoqian seemed to have a kind of mind-reading ability. Thinking of that, he felt a cold breeze on his back. Failure, failure, absolute failure. Now that this routine had failed, it was awkward. Yu Shaoqian cried for a while before slowly leaving Long Chen's embrace. Looking at him, she cried, "I'm afraid." "Afraid of what?" "I'm afraid to bring you disaster. I'm afraid you'll be killed because of me. I don't fear death, but I am afraid of seeing you die," said Yu Shaoqian. "I'm not afraid of dying." Long Chen shook his head. "That is not the worst outcome. The most terrifying one is that you will live, but you will hate me. That would make my life worse than death," said Yu Shaoqian. "Why would I ever hate you? If one day my status is exposed, you'll be hunted down by the entire world. If your companions are all killed one by one, you'll hate me. You'll hate me for causing their deaths. You might even kill me in your hatred." Yu Shaoqian once more began crying. Her words caused Long Chen's heart to quiver. That really was a big problem. He still didn't possess the power to fight the entire world. "Shaoqian, don't cry. Let's talk about our future." Long Chen gently sat her up properly. Seeing Long Chen's solemn expression, Yu Shaoqian stopped smiling. Suddenly she felt embarrassed and turned away, facing Long Chen with her back. "Shaoqian, do you trust me?" Long Chen asked. "Of course, otherwise," Yu Shaoqian cut herself off, blushing. Long Chen's heart pounded. Her charm was too strong. He took a deep breath and calmed himself. "Then let's talk seriously about what we can do for each other. I know a bit about your original devil race. Everything I've heard about you is negative, but I'm a rather stubborn person and I don't trust what other people say. I only trust my own senses and intuition. And my intuition says you're a good person, and Xiao Dai was also a good person. Then I am also willing to believe that your original devil race is also full of good people. That is my intuition." "Thank you, Long Chen." Yu Shaoqian was extremely moved. This was her first time hearing that there was someone in this world willing to trust her original devil race. On the other hand, I am full of suspicions of my world. So I want to know everything about the original devil race. "Can you tell me?" asked Long Chen. Yu Shaoqian looked into Long Chen's eyes. They seemed full of warmth and sincerity, as if looking into his eyes could allow a person to see into the core of his heart. "Since you trust me this much, I'll tell you a few secrets about my original devil race," said Yu Shaoqian. From her story, Long Chen learned that the original devil race was an enormous existence numbering in the tens of millions. The place they lived in was called the skyscraping world. That was a minor world that one of the original devil race's supreme ancestors had created. That minor world was the only place the original devil race could call home. When they entered the martial heaven continent, they would immediately be sensed by the heavenly Daos, which caused a special phenomenon to manifest around them. They would be hunted down by the martial heaven continent's experts with their full power. However, the skyscraping world was not a complete world, and it did not possess a complete set of laws. When they wanted to advance through receiving the baptism of heavenly lightning, they had to go to the martial heaven continent. To conceal their auras from the heavenly Daos, they had to gather devil cores. But they were too difficult to find. After Yu Shaoqian had gathered such a huge amount of devil cores with Long Chen in the Jiuli secret realm, the entire original devil race was excited for a long time. Those experts stuck at the peak of their realm could finally stop bitterly waiting for their turn to use the limited devil cores. That had made the entire original devil race feel profound gratitude to Long Chen. That was why his picture had circulated throughout their race, and if any of their disciples roaming the outer world ran into him when he was in trouble, they were to fight to the death to help him. Those devil cores were constructed into special enchanted items that could conceal their aura. As long as they didn't release their full power, they wouldn't be recognized by others. So they had begun stealthily entering the martial heaven continent, gathering the resources they needed. This was the original devil race's first time in countless years having their disciples roam the martial heaven continent in such numbers. It brought them immense benefits. Previously, they had been in a secluded state. Everything was to be done by themselves, which harshly impacted their ability to grow. Now, they were finally able to gather more resources from the martial heaven continent, allowing them to rapidly develop. As for why the original devil race was the world's enemy, in truth, Yu Shaoqian also didn't know. All she knew was that her mother had told her that once she learned that secret, she would no longer be allowed to leave the skyscraping world. Everything really has changed. The original devil race has become the public enemy of the world? Those damn fuckers. Senior, Long Chen was startled. The silent eastern wasteland bell had suddenly released such a curse. You can keep chatting, said the eastern wasteland bell before becoming silent again. But its voice contained an unconcealable fury. What is it, Long Chen? Asked Yu Shaoqian upon seeing the change in his expression. Oh, nothing. Shaoqian, let's talk. I want to cooperate with your original devil race, said Long Chen. Cooperate? Yu Shaoqian didn't understand. Yes. I will supply you with the resources you need, allowing you to grow stronger, said Long Chen. Yu Shaoqian was startled. This idea of Long Chen's was too crazy. If the world learned about this, his life would be over. You don't need to be startled. Helping you is also helping myself. My prediction is that this world will sooner or later flip on its tail. I need a powerful ally that can help me when I don't have enough power, said Long Chen. You really trust us that much? Yu Shaoqian was about to cry again. Yes, since I've chosen to trust you, I'll trust you completely. I trust that you'll never betray me. Long Chen gently brushed back Yu Shaoqian's soft hair, completely sincere. Thank you, Long Chen, really thank you. Yu Shaoqian was extremely moved by his trust. Once she had calmed down a bit, Long Chen continued, when you return, think of a way to send me a list of what you most need at that time. For example, medicinal pills, weapons, armors, etc. I'll think of a way to set up a secret channel to send them back to you. Hopefully, you'll be able to quickly get stronger. That way, I'll also have a powerful backer for myself. He wasn't afraid of the struggles on the cultivation path. But as his cultivation base increased, he was coming into contact with more and more secrets, and he was feeling less and less safe. He felt that if he was alone, if he ended up fighting against an enormous existence, he would definitely be mercilessly exterminated. He had long since been thinking of creating an alliance. But small alliances were useless, and as for supreme powers, they wouldn't care about a weakling like him. As for devoting himself to the Xiantian Dao sect, that was impossible. His experiences in the Xiantian Dao sect had always been full of turmoil and troubles. Long Chen had no hopes for the Xiantian Dao sect. Although there were people like Shui Wuhan and Ouyang Chuyu whom he had good relationships with in the Xiantian Dao sect, what about later? Ouyang Chuyu might be able to help him now, but what about once he entered the head sect? Who would back him then? So he needed to establish a trustworthy alliance. And he hadn't been lying. He didn't believe what he saw or heard. He just trusted the intuition the 9-star Hegemon body art gave him. That intuition had never tricked him. Not only could he get a dependable ally, but he could also make a flawlessly beautiful woman feel thankful. Long Chen felt that his luck really wasn't that bad. He told Yu Shaoqian to summon all the disciples roaming in the outside world back. There was no need for them to take that risk. If they were exposed, it would raise the guard of the martial heaven continent. He told her about his plan. Yu Shaoqian was surprised that he had such powerful communication channels. He actually had a relationship with the Huayan sect and the Pill Tower. She practically worshipped him for that, causing Long Chen's vanity to be completely satisfied. The general plan was for her to have a list in her mind when she went to ask her clan leader for approval. That way her leader would be able to get an idea of what the plan was about. After all, Yu Shaoqian had to discuss this with the higher-ups, as this matter was too important. But he was startled to learn that Yu Shaoqian's mother was the clan leader. Only then did he recall that Xiao Dai had called Yu Shaoqian the sacred daughter. Shaoqian, how did you come here? asked Longchen. Our original devil race has an ancient transportation inheritance. As long as we know the coordinates, we can transport ourselves in. When the immemorial path opens, we can transport in with the assistance of the outside world's transportation formation, said Yu Shaoqian. Did you find anything here? Or do you have some target? Yes. Up ahead, I can sense some kind of summoning. There should be something my original devil race needs there. Longchen hastily took out his map and asked Yu Shaoqian the general location. He was startled to find that the place she was talking about was marked as the Netherworld Devil Palace on the Shao tribe's map. Furthermore, that place had been concealed by the Aboriginals, so outsiders didn't know that location. Their maps didn't say there was a trial in that region. The two of them went directly over there. Longchen intentionally put away the map, having Yu Shaoqian lead through her senses. He didn't want the map to mislead her. But a few days later, the place she found was exactly the same place marked on the map. Now it was confirmed that she wanted something in this place. After half a day, Longchen finally found a mark on the bottom of an unremarkable stone. It was also a transportation formation. The two of them stood together as Longchen activated the formation. Their vision suddenly darkened as they appeared in a huge underground space. As soon as they arrived, Longchen's heart shook. This was a huge plaza, and at the center was a giant stone statue. The statue depicted a man holding a sword with both hands. His eyes looked right at the entrance of the plaza, exactly where Longchen and Yu Shaoqian were standing. An indescribable pressure fell on the two of them. It was like that statue was alive, making people feel an urge to bow down in worship. The two of them walked in and saw 8 stone gates. Each gate was 300 meters tall, and each one of them had immortal characters written on them. Longchen didn't recognize those characters. The reward for this stone gate is actually the peak-grade heavenly source extract. That's the heaven and earth spirit spring that my original devil race needs the most right now. Yu Shaoqian excitedly held Longchen's hand, almost jumping with cheer. Although he didn't know what that was, he guessed that it was about the same as the peak-grade divine mortal molting elixir. But from her cheering, it seemed much more important. Then let's go into this trial. Longchen went up to push the button next to the gate. That should be the mechanism to start the trial. Don't! Yu Shaoqian suddenly shouted, but Longchen's hand had already touched the button. The fortunate thing was, although his hand had pressed the button, it seemed the button had grown rusty from not being used for so long. It got stuck and didn't immediately activate. Get back! Yu Shaoqian pulled on Longchen's other hand, pulling him away. Longchen was embarrassed, not knowing what he had done. I sensed what is inside just now. Perhaps we won't be able to obtain the peak-grade heavenly source extract, said Yu Shaoqian. Close your eyes. I'll transmit what I sensed. Yu Shaoqian pressed 2 fingers on Longchen's forehead. A scene appeared in his mind. At first, it was indistinct, but it gradually became clearer. He saw a long and narrow passage that was filled completely with black insects. Each insect was 5 feet long and completely black. They had 8 legs and 2 hooks at the front that shone with a cold light. Corpse-devouring insects. How could they grow this big? Longchen might not be claustrophobic, but seeing this many insects filling the passage, he felt a chill. The entire passage was overflowing with them all the way to the end. In fact, it was impossible to see the end. At the same time as he was shocked by this scene, he was also shocked by Yu Shaoqian's abilities. This stone gate and the wall had formations that made it so even his powerful soul energy was unable to sense what was beyond it. These are not the outside world's ordinary corpse-devouring insects. They are gadfly ants, an ancient variant of the corpse-devouring insects. They live underground all their lives, absorbing the death qi in the air as food. Without corpses to eat, they will enter a hibernation state and still not die. In theory, they can live forever. They don't have ranks as they are not classified as magical beasts. They are simply one of the world's strange creatures. The poison on their hooks is extremely corrosive, and even 7th-rank magical beasts, if they aren't heavily armored beasts, would not be able to stop the corrosion. This channel is almost 30 miles long and 300 miles high. I don't know if it's because they were given too much time that they reproduced, but the entire channel is filled with them. If we open the door, we would have been drowned by them, said Yu Shaoqian. These gadfly ant corpse-devouring insects were too difficult to deal with. Even in the ancient era, they were extremely famous for their terror. They were the nightmare of countless cultivators, as no one wanted to provoke them. Long Chen couldn't help sighing. If only he had a completely sealed armor like Guorant's. According to Yu Shaoqian, the offensive power of these insects far surpassed 6th-rank magical beasts. A single sting could be fatal. Then how about this? I'll think of some way to draw them away, said Long Chen. How? I'll dig a hole here and then open the door, bringing the insect army in. Then you go in and take the treasure, said Long Chen. He could only go with such a clumsy method. If the earth flame was not in slumber, he could use it to attack. These insects definitely wouldn't be able to defend against that. But Hua Long was still digesting the immense energy from the other earth flame. As for Thunder Force, it wasn't very effective against these insects. Will that really work? These insects are extremely fast. They can fly, said Yu Shaoqian. Don't worry, I'm confident in my speed. Long Chen looked around. Suddenly he flew on top of the huge statue's head. He was looking around for a good spot for Yu Shaoqian to hide. But once he was on the statue's head, he saw a good recess in it. That recess was the notch in the helmet. If she hid here, then unless the insects flew above the statue's head, they wouldn't be able to sense her. It was an excellent hiding spot. Shaoqian, I'll do my best to draw out all the insects while you hide here. Are you sure this will work? I feel like it's very risky, said Yu Shaoqian. Those insects were just too powerful. Long Chen smiled. Yu Shaoqian was still the same Yu Shaoqian. She was incredibly learned, but her actual experience was pitifully low. She was still a novice. Since he had already thought things through, Long Chen didn't hesitate any longer. He spread his divine sense, and at the entrance, he slashed his sword above. Boom! Sword Qi destroyed the roof. The outside world was revealed. Although the Shao tribe had marked this place, they hadn't come here. In other words, this was an abandoned trial. It was fortunate they hadn't come here, as if they had, they would find that this wasn't a trial, but a death trap. Long Chen slashed his sword several times, creating a large opening that made it convenient for them if they needed to run. The channel needed to be wide enough so that even if the mass of insects appeared, they could still get out. He had just prepared this when he suddenly frowned. He sensed something. He sent a message to Yu Shaoqian, telling her not to move and to just wait there. He flew above ground and stealthily looked around. Sensing the direction, he rushed off. This feeling was strange and was also familiar to him. He thought he was sensing someone he was friends with. But when he crossed a mountain, he saw a figure that made him stunned. Huang Junmo. This person was precisely the Bloodkill Hall's #1 expert. He was looking at a map in his hand, looking for something. Hee, I've got it. Long Chen stealthily crept back, spreading some medicinal powders to change the look of the ground. It quickly began to change color, and according to a normal inspection, it would look like it had been thousands of years since anyone had come here. He then took out Flying Rainbow. A ray of light soared into the sky and then returned. He had just been about to add some more elements into the mixture when he sensed Huang Junmo moving. Although he couldn't see him, that familiar feeling was growing closer. That feeling came from Huang Junmo's sword. Back when he had stabbed Long Chen, his sword had been dyed by his blood. For some unknown reason, he was extremely sensitive to his own blood. He had actually been able to sense Huang Junmo because of it. This was destiny. How could Long Chen let this opportunity slip by? He shut all his pores and once more scattered medicinal powders, erasing the leftover odor in the air. He couldn't leave behind any clues. A peak assassin like Huang Junmo would immediately see through the slightest mistake. After completing this, Long Chen returned to the underground plaza. On the way, he continuously sprinkled medicinal powders, concealing his and Yu Shaoqian's auras. Shaoqian, close your pores. Don't release the slightest aura. Follow my lead. We've run into a precious person. He repeatedly warned her to keep herself completely concealed. Then he asked the Eastern Wasteland Bell, "Senior, help me out. It's just a little thing." "What is it?" "Hee, it really is just an insignificant matter for you." Huang Junmo flew underground. Just now, he had seen a flicker of light coming from here. Although he hadn't seen it clearly, he had still flown over. As soon as he arrived, he had seen the underground cave and carefully entered. He constantly looked around, also paying attention to the footprints on the ground. Long Chen laughed sinisterly. It was fortunate he had come prepared and hidden all the markings. Even if there were signs that people had come, they seemed extremely old. There were no clues. The immortal Tao is transcendental, while all living things have mundane troubles. Destiny exists in the mortal world, and priceless treasures belong only to the fated. Huang Junmo had just entered the plaza when an ancient voice reverberated throughout the room. It possessed a shocking weight to it, as if each word was the ringing of a monastery temple's bell, shaking people's hearts. It was like the teachings of gods, something no one would dare to disrespect. These words came from Long Chen's mouth. However, the Eastern Wasteland Bell was adding some special effects. Even Yu Shaoqian was stunned. She didn't understand what was going on. The two of them were hiding in the recess at the head of the statue. Long Chen was enveloped by some sort of holy light, making him look like a god. He was reciting some thought-provoking and profound Buddhist allegories. "Little fellow, you really are talented. Such nonsense words are spouted from your mouth without the slightest hesitation." Even the Eastern Wasteland Bell had to admire this ability of his. "Hee, it's all thanks to Senior's cooperation. Work with me until the end," laughed Long Chen. "Who's there?" shouted Huang Junmo, his sword already in his hand. "This lord is the great spirit god subordinate, the seventh divine general, Huyo Nyadenide," said Long Chen. Huang Junmo's heart shook. He stared at the huge statue, not saying a word. He was somewhat unable to believe that this statue in front of him was alive. But after his initial disbelief, he heard the divine charm and immortal Tao within that voice. There was no way a human could make such a sound. "Disciple is Huang Junmo. Greetings, Senior Huyo Nyadenide. Please forgive me for my previous offense." Huang Junmo bowed. This divine name Long Chen had come up with was too awkward sounding. If it weren't for Huang Junmo's great memory, there would have been no way for him to repeat it. "You're not kneeling in front of this lord? You must be insincere and disrespectful. You have no destiny with my treasure, even if you are Enputa's disciple, the rules can't be broken." Originally, Long Chen realized he was about to make a slip of the tongue and say he was from the Bloodkill Hall. But he suddenly realized his mistake and stopped. Luckily, the Eastern Wasteland Bell had taken his place to speak. Hearing the name Enputa, Huang Junmo was shocked. That name could not be randomly spoken. Other than the Bloodkill Hall's higher-ups, no one knew that name. Even he had only earned the qualifications to hear it half a year ago. Huang Junmo immediately knelt on the ground, prostrating himself. "Disciple was rude. Please forgive me." Equals Huyo Nyadenide. This name is a homonym for ch. Equals trick/dupe. N are curses. You can just treat them as fuck you. On a curse scale, they rank middling. "Yes, not bad, not bad." Seeing Huang Junmo prostrating himself toward him, Long Chen felt entirely content. He really was an evil person. By saying not bad, he meant Huang Junmo was obedient, but he didn't say anything else. So Huang Junmo didn't dare to get up. "Senior, disciple only accidentally dash. There was nothing accidental about it. This lord was the one who drew you over. I'm prepared to give you some good fortune," said Long Chen. "Many thanks, Senior. Do you know why I released a manifestation to draw you over?" Disciple doesn't know. Only now did Huang Junmo realize the light he had seen had been released by this divine general. His guard lowered by quite a bit. "Look down and look at your shadow." Huang Junmo looked down. Under the light of the runes on the 8 stone doors, there was an extremely faint shadow around him. Those who enter the divine palace will be illuminated by immortal light. The shadow is a projection of the soul. That shows whether you have a destiny or not. Those with dense souls have no affinity, but those with light souls do. Your soul is light, very light. PFT, cough, so you have an affinity with this lord, said Long Chen. Senior, don't play around like that. You'll expose me, said Long Chen. Just now, the Eastern Wasteland Belle had almost laughed. Sorry, truly sorry. I'll control myself, apologized the Eastern Wasteland Belle. It hadn't expected Long Chen to be so immoral. He was cursing him for being a bastard. Cough, so only someone with a soul that is light has the affinity? Even Huang Junmo felt like directly saying he had a light soul was strange. Correct. Those with light souls have an affinity with me and can obtain my treasure, allowing them to change the course of their lives, said Long Chen. Change the course of their lives? Disciple doesn't understand. The course of your life, your destiny. My divine soul rests here awaiting the fated person. My sole duty here is to pass on my number 1 divine item, the 8 Desolation 6 Direction Heaven Earth Splitting Chenkuan Divine Sword to someone who has an affinity with it. If such a person accepted it, I could finally return to my true body, my mission accomplished. As for who has the affinity, it'll be up to you, said Long Chen. Disciple still doesn't quite understand. What do you want me to do? Asked Huang Junmo. There are 8 doors here and immortal characters atop each door. You can take a look and tell me what you think. I'm ashamed to say that I can't even recognize a single one of those immortal characters, said Huang Junmo. Hee, that was best. Originally, Long Chen had been afraid he would see through some clues. He was immediately relieved and continued, that's fine. This Lord will explain. These 8 doors are called the 8 immortal ghost doors. There is only 1 immortal door and 7 ghost doors. Within the immortal door is my 8 Desolation 6 Direction Heaven Earth Splitting Chenkuan Divine Sword. The other 7 ghost doors have no reward at all. Once opened, the natural energy around you will instantly kill you. Huang Junmo became covered in cold sweat. Just what kind of trial was that? Of 8 doors, only 1 allowed you to live? That was just a death trap. I won't say any more useless words. Although your soul is light, I can't be sure you truly have a destiny with it. Everything will go according to the rules. You have 3 options now. First, choose one of these doors, leaving your life to fate. Second, you cannot choose one of the doors, and you'll definitely survive. But you won't obtain any treasure. The third option is to offer sacrifice. You can offer anything valuable you have to this Lord. If its quality is high enough to make me ascend in satisfaction, I will give my 8 Desolation 6 Direction Heaven Earth Splitting Chenkuan Divine Sword to you. After saying that, Long Chen's heart pounded. He thought of the treasure that Huang Junmo had snatched from him back then. But Huang Junmo wasn't so easy to trick. He was silent for a moment before saying, May I ask, Senior, what level of weapon is your 8 Desolation 6 Direction Heaven Earth Splitting Chenkuan Divine Sword? What level? Hee, little fellow, are you looking down on this lord? Raged Long Chen. Senior, please stay calm. Disciple just wants to know. This lord's 8 Desolation 6 Direction Heaven Earth Splitting Chenkuan Divine Sword was my peerless divine weapon from before I became a god. Although it is not a true divine weapon, it has already reached the half-step divine item level. To a little cultivator like you, this kind of martial weapon isn't something you can imagine. With your current cultivation base, you can't even guess how valuable a half-step divine item is. It's already beyond the scope of your understanding. Huang Junmo was shocked. Half-step divine items only existed in legends. Although he had heard that the martial heaven continent had divine items, those were just legends. They were far beyond his current level. A half-step divine item was truly not something that someone of his level could obtain. However, people were always greedy. Disciple is willing to offer a sacrifice. This is a treasure item, the soul-suppressing pagoda. Is it satisfactory? Huang Junmo steeled himself and took out a refined little pagoda. Long Chen was shocked. When it came to martial weapons, especially those on the treasure item level, bells, cauldrons, and pagodas were the most difficult to forge. Those were the weapons that exhausted the most effort from the forging master, but their power was also the greatest. In truth, Long Chen was extremely moved. But he said, "The energy is too low." "Energy? What does senior mean?" asked Huang Junmo. Long Chen didn't immediately reply. Huang Junmo took out a bracelet that was covered in marvelous designs that looked like strange beasts. Long Chen had an urge to immediately grab them. This bastard really had money. Compared to Huang Junmo's treasure items, his own wealth was garbage. Huang Junmo was the true rich fellow. "Senior, this treasure item is a precious accessory. Once the runes on it are activated, it can release an amazing attack. It is a rarely seen energy storage treasure item," said Huang Junmo carefully. "Garbage," lied Long Chen. Huang Junmo took out another 4 treasure items, and each of them was an amazing item. Long Chen's eyes turned blue with greed. Just how did this bastard have so much money? But for his ultimate target, Long Chen clenched his teeth. "Senior, disciple is incompetent. Perhaps I cannot satisfy your requirement," said Huang Junmo helplessly. When he thought about it, that made sense. Compared to a divine item, what he had was naturally garbage. However, he truly longed to obtain that 8 Desolation 6 Direction Heaven Earth splitting Chenkuan divine sword. "Looks like you aren't the destined person. I'm also helpless. It seems I can only wait here, like a lamp slowly running out of oil," sighed Long Chen. "Wait a moment. Senior, disciple has something here. Does it satisfy you?" Through Long Chen's reminder, Huang Junmo came to a sudden comprehension. He took out the lamp he had obtained on Insect Island. "This is an ancient lamp, disciple, obtained through fate. But I was never able to figure out its use, so I don't know if you want it." Long Chen cursed. Fate? That had clearly been his, but he had stolen it. That counted as fate? "This thing's not bad. This should be what you wanted, correct?" asked the Eastern Wasteland Belle. "Yes. This idiot stole this treasure from me. Now I can trick it out of him. My intuition tells me it's something good. Senior, continue working with me." Long Chen once more began speaking to Huang Junmo. "It should be precisely this thing. To tell you the truth, I don't really need your things. But this trace of my divine soul is lying in wait for the destined person to take my 8 Desolation 6 Direction Heaven Earth splitting Chenkuan divine sword. I need enough items to let my soul become full so I can ascend to the divine realm. Otherwise, I'll never be able to leave. This lamp of yours has already run out of energy. Even if I devour it, it still won't offer me enough power. Unless what?" asked Huang Junmo nervously. "Unless you can offer a few more pieces of garbage as a sacrifice. Otherwise, once I give you my 8 Desolation 6 Direction Heaven Earth splitting Chenkuan divine sword, I will have to stay here forever," sighed Long Chen. "Senior, that's fine. If you need anything, just ask," said Huang Junmo. For the 8 Desolation 6 Direction Heaven Earth splitting Chenkuan divine sword, he was willing to offer sacrifice. That's too embarrassing. "It would make me feel like I was tricking my junior, a loss of status," said Long Chen with embarrassment. "Long Chen, you're too shameless." Even the Eastern Wasteland Belle wasn't able to endure any longer. Long Chen couldn't be bothered to reply. That lamp was originally his. How was it shameless for him to take it back? So what if he was tricking him? "Senior, look. Is this lamp with 7 treasure items enough for you?" Huang Junmo respectfully held out 7 treasure items. "Sigh, child, you really have a good heart. If I still decline, I would feel sorry for you." The 7 treasure items in Huang Junmo's hands disappeared. They appeared in his primal chaos space. It was the Eastern Wasteland Belle that had helped him take them away while he was in charge of where to put them. "Aya!" Long Chen suddenly let out a disappointed cry. "Senior, what is it?" "I'm actually still lacking just a bit before fully satisfying my soul," said Long Chen helplessly. Huang Junmo clenched his teeth and took out 2 more treasure items. But those 2 treasure items' quality was not as high. Long Chen estimated that even if Huang Junmo had more treasure items, there wasn't much of a chance that he would bring them out. He couldn't go any further, or he would be seen through. "Excellent, my soul is finally fully satisfied. I can leave whenever now. But before leaving, I'll help you obtain my 8 Desolation 6 Direction Heaven-Earth Splitting Qiankuan Divine Sword, said Long Chen with great satisfaction. But his mouth was curled in an evil smile. Yu Shaoqian had been watching all this from beside him. Seeing that evil smile, her scalp turned numb. She could already think of the final result. Turn around and walk to the 3rd gate from your left. Press the button, and press hard, or the gate won't open, said Long Chen. Huang Junmo was delighted. He walked over to the gate Long Chen had indicated, and he pressed down hard on the button. The gate slowly rose. Once it was open, Huang Junmo's face instantly turned green. Bastard and light soul sound the same. Versus, so the title would also sound like you're a bastard, so there's destiny. And whenever he says he has destiny because his soul is light, it sounds like he has destiny because he's a bastard. 8 Desolation and 6 Direction are just ways of saying all directions. 6. North, south, east, west, up, down. 8. North, south, east, west, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. Qiankuan is another way of saying heaven and earth/universe. Heaven-earth splitting refers to the creation of the world where Pangu split apart heaven and earth. The huge gate opened. A flood of countless gadfly corpse-devouring insects surged out. Originally, they had been in a hibernation state. But as soon as the gate opened, they were woken up. Seeing the astonished Huang Junmo, they immediately charged towards him, brandishing their hooks. "Senior," shouted Huang Junmo, "don't be afraid. They're just some insignificant gadfly corpse-devouring insects. It's just a minor trial to obtain my half-step divine item. With your power, killing them shouldn't be difficult. Kill them," encouraged Long Chen. Huang Junmo thought about it and felt that it made sense. He had gone through quite a few trial regions, and any trial where you could obtain treasures had to have guards. His sword danced in the air. Sword chi formed an immense net. Any of those insects that touched that sword chi were blown apart. This person's very powerful. Yu Shaoqian was startled. Huang Junmo hadn't even released his full power, but just from this, she could tell his power. Good, just continue like this. These insects are nothing and you'll quickly kill them all, said Long Chen. But these words were a bit less confident. The huge room here had become a sea of insects now, and there was still an unending stream of them coming from the gate. Most importantly, these latter insects had decorative marks on them. They should be comparatively stronger gadfly corpse-devouring insects. Their powerful defense was comparable to 7th-rank magical beasts. When they arrived, Huang Junmo had no choice but to release his full power. His sword chi was incomparably sharp as he slaughtered them. Even Long Chen couldn't help being startled. Huang Junmo was truly powerful. Each movement of his sword was refined to the peak so that it saved energy. The more powerful insects were also helpless to do anything to Huang Junmo. Long Chen continued to cheer for Huang Junmo, encouraging him. But the flood of insects still didn't end. Huang Junmo was completely submerged in them. Long Chen could only see some dim light flashed within that sea to judge where Huang Junmo was. "Shaoqian, it seems there's even more than you said," said Long Chen as he watched more and more insects fly out. "I'm not sure why. Perhaps I only saw a portion of them, or maybe there's more than one channel in there," said Yu Shaoqian with a bit of bewilderment. Boom! An immense ray of sword chi suddenly erupted, creating an opening amongst the sea of insects. "Excellent, continue just like that. The gadfly corpse-devouring insects are almost all gone. Once you pass this final wave, you'll have one," encouraged Long Chen. Huang Junmo roared. It was unknown what secret art he had used, but that translucent sword in his hands suddenly blossomed with a blinding light. Endless sword chi erupted. Any insects that entered within 300 meters of him were blown apart. He rushed along the ground, slaughtering countless insects. He was incredibly fast and powerful. As Huang Junmo slaughtered them, the ground was covered in the insects' broken pieces. Not good. Huang Junmo's expression suddenly changed and he flew into the air. He found that the black blood of the insects contained poison. Just now, a bit of it had touched his robes, corroding a hole. Up in the air, he became an easy target for the insects. They surged towards him. Because he flew up, Long Chen took up a shield to hide him and Yu Shaoqian. It went without saying that Huang Junmo was incredibly powerful. He was slaughtering more and more of the insects. Their broken pieces had piled into a mountain on the ground. "Senior, how are there so many?" "Aya, I've already said that this is the final wave." "Hold on." 2 hours later. "Senior, how are there still so many?" "I can't hold on much longer." "Aya, I've already said that this is the final wave." "Hold on." Victory is within sight. Another 2 hours later. "Senior, how are there still so many? Is there even an end? If this continues, I really won't be able to go on." "Aya, I've already said that this is the final wave." "Hold on." Think of what it would be like to possess a half-step divine item. Wouldn't it be like being completely reborn? Come, under my radiance, your heroism will be unrivaled, and your power will multiply. Even Long Chen was speechless. 6 hours had passed, but more and more insects were coming out. Furthermore, they were even stronger. Their hooks were a golden color, and when Huang Junmo's sword met them, it would only cause sparks to fly. Long Chen and Yu Shaoqian looked at each other with goosebumps. They really had underestimated these gadfly ant corpse-devouring insects. "Haha, didn't I say that as long as you continued, there would be hope? Look, no more are coming out." Long Chen finally saw the flood of insects come to an end. But as soon as he laughed, he became dumbfounded. It was unknown what the Eastern Wasteland Bell was thinking, but it actually forgot its sound effects. "Long Chen, it's you." Hearing Long Chen's original voice, Huang Junmo immediately recognized him and roared with endless killing intent. Since he was already exposed, he couldn't be bothered to reproach the Eastern Wasteland Bell. He stood on the head of the statue and waved hello to Huang Junmo. "Hi, how are you?" Right now, Huang Junmo was surrounded by 10,000 of the more powerful gadfly ant corpse-devouring insects. That was the final wave, and their bodies were incredibly strong. Even Huang Junmo's treasure item sword had difficulty breaking their defense. Just a moment before this, Huang Junmo had been hoping to ask this great spirit god's 7th divine general Huyo Nyadenide to help him at a critical moment. But now realizing that this great Huyo Nyadenide was Long Chen, his head suddenly became crystal clear. He also suddenly realized the true meaning of Huyo Nyadenide. Then thinking of the treasure items that had been tricked out of him, he reached a level of rage that he had never experienced before. Unable to bear it, he coughed up a mouthful of blood. "Long Chen, I'll kill you." Huang Junmo charged at Long Chen. But Long Chen was standing at the top of the huge statue, while he was near the bottom, surrounded by insects. Even after trying several times, he wasn't able to break out of their encirclement. In his fury, Huang Junmo was struck in the leg by one of the insects. It left behind a small cut. That small cut began to rapidly grow, corroding at a speed visible to the naked eye. It reached the bone in just a moment. Huang Junmo was horrified. But he was also a ruthless person, and clenching his teeth, he directly cut off his leg. That leg turned into mush in just a few breaths after it left his body. He had only just severed his own leg when he felt his left arm turn numb. His left hand had also been attacked. Although it had just barely broken his skin, that terrifying poison was already starting to rapidly circulate. "Do you see them?" asked the Eastern Wasteland Bell. "Yes, I see them." Long Chen nodded. He was looking above Huang Junmo's head. "Those are golden fate lines. Although this person seems to be in a crisis, his golden fate lines are still steady. That means that while this crisis looks extremely dangerous, it doesn't threaten his life," said the Eastern Wasteland Bell. It was currently using a special technique to allow Long Chen to see Huang Junmo's golden fate lines. Huang Junmo had no choice but to cut off his arm. He hatefully glared at Long Chen, but clenching his teeth, his translucent sword turned into a ray of light that pulled him away. Wherever that light went, those insects would be blown apart. Over half of the insects encircling him were killed. This was clearly Huang Junmo's life-saving trump card. And it was an extremely powerful one as none of the insects were able to stop it. No wonder his golden fate lines didn't even twitch. He still had such a terrifying trump card to fall back on. Hee, many thanks for teaching me this, senior, said Long Chen. Long Chen, the rest of the insects are coming towards us, warned Yu Shaoqian. Currently, only a few of the elites of the gadfly ant corpse devouring insects remained. Their numbers had been greatly reduced thanks to Huang Junmo, and it would be extremely easy for them to handle the rest. Little Momo really is useful, laughed Long Chen. This was his first time feeling like Huang Junmo wasn't so hateful. Long Chen took out his broadsword. He knew that although these remaining elites were strong, killing them wasn't too difficult. That was especially true since he specialized in brute force. Wait a moment. There's no need to use foolish brute power to get rid of these remainders. Take out that ancient lamp. I'll teach you how to use it, said the Eastern Wasteland Belle. Long Chen pressed his hand on the ancient lamp. An ancient rune lit up, and when Long Chen blew on the wick, a light red flame flew out, instantly enveloping half of the room. What startled Long Chen was the fact that the gadfly ant corpse devouring insects were instantly turned to smoke when they were enveloped by those flames. They vanished. Long Chen and Yu Shaoqian were astonished. They looked at the shabby ancient lamp. Who would have thought that it possessed such terrifying power? Amazing! I struck gold this time. Long Chen was delighted. As expected, this ancient lamp was an absolute treasure. However, after getting excited, he suddenly found that the wick had dimmed after this attack. He jumped in fright. It's fine. As long as it doesn't get contaminated with the blood chi of cultivators, it will never completely extinguish, said the Eastern Wasteland Belle. So, does that mean I can't use it against enemies? Asked Long Chen. You can use it against enemies that aren't cultivators. For example, magical beasts. The lamp wick of this immemorial altar lamp was refined through the life essence of supreme experts. Inside are their blessings. The immemorial altar lamp isn't a killing device. In truth, it's a priceless cultivation-assisting treasure. Once you reach C expansion, it can help you cultivate faster, and your Chi C will grow to 10 times the size of others. Even in the ancient era, it was an extremely rare treasure. A sect could build their entire foundation around it. And it's not just useful for the C expansion realm. At the foundation forging realm, if you have its assistance, your immortal platform's foundation will be incomparably stable. Long Chen, you truly did obtain an amazing treasure this time. It seems your fortune has taken a turn for the better, praised the Eastern Wasteland Belle. His fortune had taken a turn for the better? Long Chen refused to believe it. All he believed was that good things required a matching strength to protect. Otherwise, even if you obtained it, it would be taken by others. The loss and regaining of the immemorial altar lamp was a good example. During this critical moment, Huang Junmo had revealed immense battle power. Long Chen realized that if he had fought with him all out on Insect Island, he most likely wouldn't have been his match. Because Huang Junmo was an assassin, he was specialized in killing his opponents in one shot and in one-on-one combat. Most likely his abilities had been restricted by the fact that he was facing an endless sea of insects, which was the only reason he was forced to flee. Hearing that the immemorial altar lamp couldn't be used to face enemies, Long Chen couldn't help being disappointed. Such a powerful killing tool couldn't be used to kill. That was too irritating. If the immemorial altar lamp kills too many experts, their resentment will be absorbed by it and extinguish its core. Then it will become trash, said the Eastern Wasteland Belle. Long Chen immediately thought of how those insects on Insect Island had drawn cultivators near the lamp before killing them. So their goal really had been to extinguish the wick. Put away the immemorial altar lamp for now. It has absorbed too much resentment and needs to rest. As for your earth flame, it's in slumber and can't help expel that resentment. It's not good to use for now. I'll teach you how to use it to help your cultivation later. Long Chen solemnly put the lamp away. This treasure was too precious. It was his greatest harvest since arriving on the immemorial path and would be the foundation of the Dragonblood Legion's future rise. Let's go. Little Mo has already helped us open the door. We can't fail to live up to his kindness. laughed Long Chen. Who is Little Mo? Asked Yu Shaoqian. It's that good person who helped us kill all those insects, laughed Long Chen. Long Chen, you really are evil. Yu Shaoqian also couldn't hold back a laugh. Long Chen had long since told her about what had happened with Huang Junmo. This time, he had been conned miserably by Long Chen. Not only had he lost so many of his treasures, but he had also fled with only half of his life. It was unknown whether he would directly go insane from anger once he stopped running. The two of them entered the passageway and were shocked to find quite a few bodies of gadfly ant corpse devouring insects inside. However, they weren't true insects but the results of their molting. Those elite insects that had come out in the end obviously had to have experienced some kind of metamorphosis to possess such power. They had been comparable to 7th-rank magical beasts. A disgusting stench came from the passageway, but Long Chen and Yu Shaoqian endured it. If they closed their pores and stopped breathing, it would cause their spiritual perception to sharply drop. In such a dangerous place, such an action was foolhardy. No wonder. The two of them walked in 300 meters when they saw multiple channels ahead. Each channel was so long that they couldn't see the end. That was why there had been so many insects. All these channels had been filled with the insects. How curious! After this many years of no food or water, how did these insects survive? Wondered Long Chen. Gadfly ant corpse devouring insects are a special corrupt insect. Legend has it they are one of the poison insects that the corrupt god raised with his own body. With the corrupt god's blessing, they can survive forever. Although that's just a legend that can't be trusted, there really is a special rune on their backs that can absorb death chi. Although this place is sealed and they can't leave, those runes can still absorb death chi from outside despite the restrictions. Whether it is flying birds, roaming beasts, or even the insects in the ground, as long as they die, they will release death chi. The gadfly ant corpse devouring insects absorb that death chi to grow and breed. Furthermore, their most terrifying aspect is that they can enter a state of quasi-death, and in that state, the amount of energy they use is essentially zero. So in theory, their lifespan is unlimited. Even if they survived since ancient times, it's still reasonable, explained Yu Shaoqian. Shaoqian, you really are erudite, praised Long Chen. He really had to prostrate himself in admiration towards her learning. Even if he exhausted himself to death, he would never be able to catch up to her. Ah, I'm the one who has to admire you. You really know how to babble. The immortal Tao is transcendental, while all living things have mundane troubles. Destiny exists in the mortal world, and priceless treasures belong only to the fated. Huang Junmo wasn't the only one who believed it, even I believed it. At that time, I really thought you were the incarnation of a god. You really are dislikable, said Yu Shaoqian a bit resentfully. She felt that she was foolish for falling for it. Long Chen couldn't help but laugh. Talking about reasonable things wasn't his strong point. But when it came to spouting nonsense, he had never been afraid to compete with anyone. Tell me, how did you come up with such a random name? Yu Shaoqian was a simple and pure person. She felt there was definitely a problem with Long Chen's name, but she didn't know what. Huyonai Adenide? That really wasn't something he could explain. Curse words weren't anything to be proud about. Long Chen shook his head. It was just a random name I came up with. It doesn't have any meaning. No, you're definitely lying, said Yu Shaoqian, looking into Long Chen's eyes. You can't trick me. You definitely had some kind of meaning behind them. Naide Naide? Naide as in your uncle? Long Chen immediately began to sweat and nodded. All right, it's just your uncle, nothing else. Look, we're at another fork. Take a look and choose which path we should take. Long Chen really didn't want to keep talking about this topic. He had also experienced how difficult Yu Shaoqian was to deal with. She had a kind of innate spiritual perception that allowed her to tell when people were lying. That was awkward. This way. The two of them continued onwards, insect molts cracking beneath their feet. They had already made 4 turns, and seeing this twisting cavern, they finally understood why there had been so many insects. We've arrived. They finally reached the end of the channel. There was a 3-meter door of light in front of them. Long Chen thought about it and decided to let Yu Shaoqian enter first. This kind of danger of the unknown was something he should have tested first, but with his bad luck, it really wasn't advisable for him to do that. So he had Yu Shaoqian go in first. Once Yu Shaoqian entered, he followed right behind her. As soon as he entered the light door, he let out a startled cry. As soon as he was in, he found that he was floating in water. He hastily closed all his pores, afraid that something was wrong with the water. But Long Chen found that Yu Shaoqian was incomparably excited. He asked, "This is the peak-grade heaven source extract?" Yu Shaoqian nodded. She took out a small jade vase. Its runes lit up and the liquid around them began to pour into it. It was clearly a spatial storage object. As the water level descended, Long Chen realized they were in a square space 300 meters wide and 2,500 meters tall. At the center was a giant stone stalactite. Heavens, there's so much peak-grade heaven source extract. Long Chen, am I dreaming? Yu Shaoqian couldn't believe it. It's real. I've encountered the same thing. Back then, I almost thought that it was a bathing place, laughed Long Chen. Thinking of his ignorance back then, he felt a burst of embarrassment. Long Chen, you really are my lucky star. Yu Shaoqian was extremely emotional now, and she tightly hugged Long Chen. This peak-grade heaven source extract was of the utmost importance to her original devil race. It could raise their overall talent without any drawbacks. It was practically a divine elixir. Obtaining all this peak-grade heaven source extract, she was incomparably excited. She drank a bit right there and then, immediately feeling completely refreshed. Even her spiritual strength increased, making her so excited that she seemed like a happy child. Once she calmed herself down a bit, they returned to the original plaza with the 8 gates. The other 7 gates also had heaven source extract as their ultimate rewards, but their quality was worse. Furthermore, each channel behind each gate was also filled with gadfly corpse-devouring insects. For them, risking danger by fighting against all those insects wouldn't be worth it. The 2 of them left the underground cave. They had a brief rest while Yu Shaoqian used the heaven source extract to increase her power. Long Chen found that Yu Shaoqian's energy was very special. It was different from any other cultivator's energy that he had ever seen. But that peak-grade heaven source extract was able to purify and increase that strange energy inside her. It was like a treasure just for the original devil race. Once she woke up from her meditative state, Long Chen offered her a certain thing. Here, have a fruit. When Yu Shaoqian ate the fruit, she was stunned as she suddenly noticed that other than her core energy, another kind of energy had appeared within her body. When she circulated that energy, not only was she not restricted by the world, but she even received a kind of blessing from it that increased her own power. Long Chen, what fruit is this? Yu Shaoqian was completely shocked. How could there be such a heaven-defying existence in this world? I call it a heavenly Dao fruit. It's one of my secrets, so please keep it from others, said Long Chen. I swear I won't tell anyone. I won't even tell my mother, said Yu Shaoqian solemnly upon seeing how serious he was. Shaoqian, I'm sorry. It's not that I don't trust you, but this heavenly Dao fruit is too important. I have no choice but to be cautious, said Long Chen. I know and I understand. Thank you for sharing such an important secret with me, said Yu Shaoqian gratefully, holding Long Chen's hand. He nodded. As long as Yu Shaoqian didn't bother him with how he had such a thing, he was at ease. Then how are your gains? Yu Shaoqian stood and formed a hand seal. A huge image appeared behind her. That image seemed to be a flower, but not a flower. It looked like a cross between a flower and a leaf. It was extremely bizarre. A powerful aura erupted out of Yu Shaoqian, soaring straight into the clouds. At the same time, space began to rumble around her. What a powerful aura! Long Chen was startled. Yu Shaoqian was extremely powerful. This was just her initial control over her new heavenly Dao energy, and she was clearly unfamiliar with using it. However, this aura showed that she was even stronger than he had thought. Yu Shaoqian pointed her finger 3 times, and 3 rays of sword qi shot out. 3 holes appeared in a distant mountain. It then collapsed, shocking Long Chen. In just a few breaths, Yu Shaoqian had managed to release such an attack with an unfamiliar energy. Her comprehension abilities were almost terrifying. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Longchen, I can actually control the outside world's energy now. When I run into enemies, I don't have to worry about exposing myself anymore, said Yu Shaoqian excitedly. Although she was veiled, her smile had turned her eyes into beautiful crescent moons. Longchen nodded. This result was excellent. If he could obtain more heavenly Dao fruits, then more of the original devil race's experts could roam the martial heaven continent. Shaoqian, how much of your true power can you release with the heavenly Dao energy? Asked Longchen. This was an important point. Around 80%. Just 80%? Longchen couldn't help being disappointed. That's already amazing. This heavenly Dao energy is even better than what I originally thought. When I tried it, I found that other than my core divine abilities, many of the techniques of my original devil race can be used with it. Although their effect is slightly lower, we don't need to be so helpless when fighting now. Furthermore, other than our strongest core divine abilities, even some magical arts can be used without revealing our devil mark. It'll be extremely safe. Previously, we had to rely on devil cores to deceive the heavenly Daos. We couldn't fight outside because once we did, it would exhaust our core energy, and we wouldn't be able to replenish it without returning to our skyscraping world. The more we used, the more dangerous it would be. That's also why I always ran when I encountered enemies. Against those blazing wolf races experts, I really had no way to handle them. It was fortunate that you came, or I might have been exposed. But now I can use heavenly Dao energy, and I can replenish it whenever I want. It feels delightful. Yu Shaoqian's excitement still hadn't lessened in the slightest. She had always been unable to fight back against enemies. That was extremely depressing. But now she was finally free of it. Then that's good. Is there anyone else from your race that entered the immemorial path with you? Asked Longchen. Yes. This time, 37 of us entered. They're all our race's elites, said Yu Shaoqian. Can you find them? We have a secret art to communicate. Good. Then I'll give you some heavenly Dao fruits, and you distribute them. Otherwise, it'll be too dangerous for them, said Longchen. You have more. Yu Shaoqian was startled. How could he have so many heaven-defying fruits? Okay, I'll immediately gather them. Yu Shaoqian suddenly formed hand seals, and a mark appeared on her forehead. That was the devil character. But that devil character had a faint golden glow to it, and it appeared sacred and hallowed. When it lit up her face, she seemed like an immortal. 6 hours later, someone new arrived. It was a handsome man with shoulder-length hair. He flew in front of Yu Shaoqian and bowed according to an extremely ancient etiquette. Greetings, sacred daughter, greetings, Senior Longchen. Yu Shaoqian returned the etiquette and said, It's been hard on you. Did you run into any dangers? Thank you for your care. Disciple only ran into some minor troubles with nothing worth mentioning. Seeing that Longchen was a bit dumbfounded, Yu Shaoqian smiled and said, You don't need to find it strange. Everyone in the original devil race recognizes you now. Many thanks, Senior Longchen, for your benevolence. Otherwise, there would have been no way for us to leave the skyscraping world and serve our race. That person once more bowed toward Longchen. Longchen felt extremely awkward. He hastily cupped his fists in return. That strange bowing form was extremely particular, and he wasn't able to imitate it. Yu Shaoqian laughed. Longchen, you don't need to be so courteous. Longchen nodded and directly gave that person a rank 2 heavenly Dao fruit. That person glanced at Yu Shaoqian and saw her nod before he received it. The second person quickly arrived after the first. Then the third and fourth. Longchen was startled by this efficiency. In just one day, the majority of them had already gathered. They had to have some kind of secret technique that allowed them to cross the wider abysses, or there was no way they could have gotten here so quickly. Once everyone was gathered, there were only 32 of them. Sadness appeared in Yu Shaoqian's eyes. Those other 5 people had clearly fallen. Sacred daughter, don't be aggrieved. They died for the race, and they were our honorable warriors. Comforted a woman. Yu Shaoqian nodded. The reason why she was so sad was because those fallen warriors hadn't died because they hadn't been as strong as their opponents. They had died to keep the secret of the original devil race, dying because they hadn't revealed their true power. To not be exposed, they had chosen to die. That was what made Yu Shaoqian feel the worst. They were true warriors worthy of respect. 3 days later, all of them had consumed the heavenly Tao fruits and become rank 2 celestials. They all had another kind of energy in their bodies that made them incredibly excited. Their gratefulness towards Long Chen reached a new level. Long Chen, do you want them to travel alone again or come with us? Asked Yu Shaoqian. Staying with us is too dangerous. Long Chen shook his head. Although they were all experts, his enemies were too powerful. They hadn't reached that level yet. Although they had consumed the heavenly Tao fruits and used the peak-grade heaven source extract, they weren't on the level of Yu Shaoqian. Thus, they couldn't fight alongside him. Before you leave, I want to say a few words. If you do run into danger, use your full power to kill your way out. Even if that exposes your identity, it's fine, said Long Chen. Long Chen, Yu Shaoqian and the other original Devil Race's members were all startled. Since we've chosen to be allies, I treat you as my brothers and sisters. Your lives are the most precious. Even if you have to expose yourself, that's not important. The most important thing is for you to live. Even if the heavens collapse, I will be there to help you carry them. Your lives aren't able to impact the big picture, so don't pointlessly sacrifice them. Alright, you can all go. I wish you good fortune. Huge waves rose in the hearts of the original Devil Race's members. Although his voice was calm without immense passion, it revealed his confidence. At the same time, the care within his voice warmed their hearts. They once more bowed toward him and went in their own directions. They needed to find more opportunities and resources for their original Devil Race so that they could grow. Thank you, Long Chen. Yu Shaoqian's eyes were slightly reddened. She also didn't want her people to die, but she didn't dare to say the same words that he had. She didn't possess that confidence. You've thanked me so much, are you really not going to consider giving your heart to me? Teased Long Chen. A nice thought. Yu Shaoqian lightly hit him and turned away, wiping away her tears. She was completely red. After some light teasing of a beauty, Long Chen opened his map. The two of them were currently in the middle section of the eastern region of the immemorial path. If they continued forward, they would reach another huge block that was almost the same size as the 10,000 Beast Forest. But this huge block was actually a castle. That area was a trial region that had to be traversed in order to get deeper into the eastern region. However, it could no longer be referred to as a trial region, as it had completely broken down. It was the only huge ruins in the eastern region. Shaoqian, let's go. I'll bring you to a very lively place. Long Chen smiled. He could run into many friends there. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.